Yes, this is case number 155 on the calendar in the matter of Eckert Procopio versus Marcus. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You are Miss Eckert?
Yes.
Miss Eckert, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for some rent, some other bills from taking money out of your ATM account, and Mr. Procopio?
That's correct.
It's your claim that Mr. Marcus assaulted you. You want to be compensated. Tell me, how do you know him, Miss Eckert, and when you moved in together, and what was the rent arrangement?
I met him last July, and we just became friends, and he had a 5-year-old son, and I had a 6-year-old son, and he was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I was living in a 3-bedroom house, and we both couldn't afford the places that we lived in, so we decided we move in together, just as roommates, and he can take care of my son while I go to work, just take him to school in the morning, and then the rent would be $300, and if he doesn't do that, then the rent would be $400.
How much was the total rent?
$850.
And how many people were living in the house?
It was just me and my son at the time.
When did he move in?
In the middle of September.
No, that's not true.
I'll get you in a minute. When was he supposed to start to pay rent? In October?
Yeah.
Did he pay October's rent?
No.
When did he move out?
Middle of May.
No, that's not true either.
From October until May, did he pay rent?
No.
Never.
No.
So why did you let him stay?
Because he always said he's getting a job. Every month I asked him, are you going to come up with some money? He was supposed to get food stamps too, you know, from the welfare. And every month he came up with a new story. One time he said he's going to sell his motorcycle, and he, you know, I didn't want him to do that. And then he had a job at one time.
Yeah.
For a day, and then he lost that job.
Not true.
Do you think I'm going to give you a chance, sir?
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Then I want you to try to contain yourself. So he didn't pay you any money from October until May?
No.
So let's deal with the rent first. Now, Mr. Marcus, look who's having a turn. When did you move in according to your calendar, sir?
It was the middle of October.
Okay.
Actually, almost towards the end of October, when I come back from Mexico.
So according to you, you should have started to pay rent either.
1st of November.
Thank you for anticipating. Did you pay rent?
No, not at the first. No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, because I didn't have the money at that time.
What were you doing in Mexico?
I was helping a friend move his family down there.
Explain that to me.
It was just another friend of mine who needed assistance driving his family to Mexico. He asked me to help him.
You're making me very nervous, sir. Could you speak without moving so much?
Yeah. Well, he asked me to help him move his family to Mexico. I did so. I was down there for a month.
So you weren't working at the time?
No.
And you were free?
I was taking care of my son. He was under medical conditions, so...
What kind of medical condition?
He was mauled by dogs, so he needed intensive care 24/7.
How old is he?
He is now 6. At the time, he was 5.
So you took your son, who needed full-time medical care, down to Mexico for a month?
No, I didn't. I left him with his grandmother.
The name of the friend who you helped move to Mexico?
Mario.
Mario.
Yeah, Mario. That's all I know.
Mr. Marcus, you see anything written here, sir?
No, ma'am.
Dumb, stupid.
No, I'm not saying that.
Do you think that I think that you were going down to move somebody whose name you don't even know, and you stayed with them for a month and you don't know their last name?
No, I don't. Actually, I couldn't even pronounce it if I did.
All right, Mr. Marcus. So November you didn't pay any rent. What about December?
Yes, I did give her some money. I did give her some cash.
Good. How much did you give her, sir?
I believe it was $150.
And in January?
I think it was another $100, $150.
February?
Not believe February, no.
March?
No, that's when we started getting eviction notices, so she didn't pay either. It was pretty much everybody disbanded the house, and off we went.
April?
No, nobody was there in April.
When did you move out?
March.
So according to you, sir, for the entire time you were there, you gave her a total of $250.
Well...
That's what you just told me?
Well, partial, yes.
That's what you just told me?
Yes, I understand that. Partial.
That's what you just told me?
That's cash, yes. I bought all the food for the house.
Food?
Yes, food. Well, she then proceeded to move Sal in.
I'm not there yet. Miss Eckert,
okay.
I want you to tell me about this ATM card. I read your papers, and I don't think that you can prove it to me, but I'll listen to you anyway because I'm always trying to be fair?
Well, I got my paycheck and I deposited, and my bank account was way overdrawn. And I was like, there's something wrong. So I got a statement from the bank, a printout, and I noticed that there was some stuff on there that was charged on my debit card that wasn't made by me. And there was a 1-800 number next to it. So I called it, and I got to find out it was a...
She gave me the credit card.
Go.
It was a porn website.
That's not what it was.
Yes.
That's what the guy said on the phone.
That's not what it was.
Okay. What makes you think it was Mr. Marcus who used your debit card?
Because the guy on the phone asked me what my email address is, and I said, I don't have an email address. He asked me if I got a computer in my house,
That's
and
not
I
true
said,
that she did.
I want you to be quiet until I look in your direction.
And he asked me if I know somebody by the name of Michael Marcus, and I said, yes, that's my roommate. And he said, that's the person who got the charge that on my debit.
And what was the charge?
You want to take a look at this?
Sure.
And because of that, my bank account got totally overdrawn, so I got all those overdraft charges on there too.
Just tell me how much it was.
But all combined with the overdraft charges,
No,
about
forget the
$200.
overdraft charges, just what you allege he charged.
About $100.
Now we're ready to go to you, sir. I want you to tell me about this assault.
Hold on.
When did it take place?
12th of April.
You have a police report?
No, I did not call the police. I was going to pretty much let the whole issue go until my wife was and him
She
were going to go
decided
to
do it,
court.
yeah.
Mr. Marcus, do you think you're helping yourself, sir?
No, ma'am. I just want the truth.
Well, then wait your turn, and I'll hear. How are you related to him?
Can I speak?
No! I asked you a question. I said, how are you related to him?
I'm a witness.
How are you related to him?
We have a child together.
My condolences.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your actions today, being a wise guy and a smart mouth,
But I'm not.
but you are.
But you haven't even heard my side of this whole assault thing.
But you're not paying attention to me.
I am
You're
paying
as
attention.
dumb and as thick as this wood.
And later today,
He calls me and said he's in jail to bail him out of jail.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I said,
Mr. Reyes,
not
Mr.
true.
Reyes, could you wait until I look at you and ask you questions, please? Oh, look at me. Could you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Heidi Eckert, and her estranged husband, Salvatore Procopio, are suing former housemate Michael Marcus for unpaid rent. Salvatore claims soon after filing the case, Michael beat him up.
Now, 12th of April.
Correct. After the eviction notice came, we were supposed to be out the first of the month. Heidi,
First of what?
April, I believe.
First of April.
Yeah.
Why were you being evicted?
Due to unpaid rent.
When was the last time you paid rent?
I never paid any rent.
Yeah.
When was the last time you paid rent?
My last in February.
In February.
As far as the credit card is concerned,
Not talking about the credit card.
oh, well, it was handed to me. She knew
Yeah,
all about
I'm
it.
not talking about the credit card now.
Well, we need to address it.
If I need to address it, I'll address it. Now, get back to the date of the assault.
Mr. Marcus came into the kitchen first thing in the morning and was upset about the whole lawsuit. Heidi had already, processed a claim to sue him in small claims. He was adamant that I was the one that put her up to it. And
When did you move into the house, sir?
Middle of November. I
November.
mean, probably within the first 30 days of Mr. Marcus moving in.
So you moved in after Mr. Marcus moved
Well, I lived there prior. I moved out.
You
back
moved in after Mr.
Yes.
Marcus moved in?
Yes.
After her arrangement with Mr. Marcus?
Correct.
Did you pay rent?
No.
Why not?
I was unemployed at the time.
That's not his problem.
Yeah, I stayed in the room with my estranged wife. I slept on a couch sometimes.
At any time, did either you or Miss Eckert receive public assistance?
No.
Not me.
What about you?
No.
So how are you supporting yourself, Mr. Procopio?
Me and everybody else was supporting him.
With the help of friends.
Was I looking at you?
Well,
Was I looking at you?
That's who was supporting him. Everybody else in the house.
You know, right now he's preparing to tell me about the fact that you punched him while sitting in the kitchen.
No, he
A fact
he was standing.
that you acknowledge. Your defense to that, sir, is that you were afraid that he was going to assault you with a knife he was holding.
Yes.
Your actions today in dealing with me suggest that you're so dumb that you don't
Yeah.
recognize that if you maintain a different kind of demeanor, I might believe the fact that you were in fear of your life and therefore responded by assaulting him, by punching him.
Well, if you hear my story, I'll tell you.
However, your actions today, being a wise guy and a smart mouth,
But I'm not.
but you are.
But you haven't even heard my side of this whole assault thing.
But you're not paying attention to me.
I am
You're
paying
as
attention.
dumb and as thick as this wood.
well.
Because if you listen to me, you would understand that if you were quiet and respectful of where you are,
Then I get
and
shut out.
understand where you are, you see how we're addressing each other and you see how quiet they are? Because at this point, I'm looking in your direction. You have no self-control. You can't control yourself.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Heidi Eckert, and her estranged husband, Salvatore Procopio, are suing former housemate Michael Marcus for unpaid rent. Salvatore claims soon after filing the case, Michael beat him up.
Tell me about the assault, sir. You were in the kitchen. He came in. He was angry because you filed the small claims case. And he did what to you?
He smacked me upside my face.
How did he do that? With an open hand or a closed hand?
It was closed hand and an open hand. There was
Okay.
two of them, in which I got out of the house
Okay.
and I left.
And
I wasn't, I wasn't.
my mouth is moving.
Excuse me.
When he hit you, did you have any injury?
I had a cut on the inside of my mouth.
Okay, so you had no serious injury.
No, not at all.
And you did not respond in kind by hitting him back
No.
because... Okay. Did you, in fact, have a knife in your hand?
I was doing the dishes. At the time, we
Okay.
weren't sitting in the kitchen. I was standing at
You
the
were
sink.
standing. And Mr. Marcus, at no time did he hit you, is that right?
No, he did not.
Stop! And you walked into the kitchen, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
The fact that Mr. Procopio was not seriously injured, or was not really injured at all, does not mean that you get a free whack. So that slap upside his head and little cut on the inside is going to cost you $500, Mr. Marcus. So far, I am eliminating these charges from here because everything that you told me, Miss Eckert, with regard to the person that you called, at your ATM card, is hearsay. However, I am persuaded that Mr. Marcus owes you for rent. So, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's fine. I mean, we always got along. I'm kind of bummed that it came to this.
He owes me money. And if this time I'm not going to let it go.
He doesn't deserve a dime.
I wish everybody well. I wish it didn't all have to come to this.
I have no hard feelings against Heidi. As far as he's concerned, he's a chump.
That's case number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Dennis versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
All right, I have a claim and I have a countersuit. The claim is that, Miss Dennis, you bought a home from the defendant
Yes, ma'am.
on substantial acreage, 5 acres?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And it is your claim that there was a damaged bathtub.
A latent defect, yes.
Don't give me latent defect. There was a damaged bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
And it cost you a substantial amount of money to fix that bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition, you claim that the defendant has embarked upon a course of harassment by calling Child Protective Services on your family, for which you also want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says he never made any calls to Child Protective Services. Is that right, sir?
This is true, Your Honor.
That the home that you purchased was purchased as one usually purchases a home. You had a home inspection, an inspector of your own choosing, and whatever defect was found should have been found by the inspector. He says, however, that you actually owe him money. You had left certain property with the consent of the plaintiff on the acreage in a shed, and it was the arrangement that you would take that property after the closing.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And that the defendant, in retaliation for the fact that you weren't going to pay her for this bathtub, locked the shed, couldn't get to your property. Subsequently, the shed was removed. She put your property at another location, and a lot of it was either damaged or destroyed.
It's true.
Okay. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's your claim.
Yes.
So, Miss Dennis, when did you purchase the house from Mr. Pierce?
On January 22nd.
And when did you have the home inspection?
I have a copy of it here.
I'd like to see it.
It was done before we bought the home.
Of course. Stupid to have
this
it afterwards.
Is the advertisement of the home.
No. I just want to see your
Okay.
inspection.
Your Honor, it claims 2 full baths, and being how one of the tubs was damaged, it was only considered 1.5 baths.
Is that what you're trying to tell me? That because the home was advertised 2 full baths and there was a crack in one of the bathtubs, he misrepresented the home to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you get a life. Bird, would you buy a house where the report of findings said, visible evidence of wood-destroying organisms observed, wood rot and subterranean termites, wood rot, subfloor, under bathrooms, says damaged, tub, shower, and walls, damage, deterioration, noted at tub, plastic tub, cracked right front corner. All right, let me hear your claim with regard to this bathtub, madam.
The bathtub was cracked all the way in the middle of the tub. It was hidden with a decorative non-slip strip. Basically, my father-in-law, who is also my realtor, considered it, saw it. It was a latent defect.
Wasn't a latent defect. You had an inspector.
The inspector could not find it because it was covered up.
The inspector shouldn't be an idiot. The inspector noted wood rot under the bathtub.
Because of the water damage.
Right. Hello? If there's wood rot under the bathtub, something must be leaking. My goodness, where is that leaking from? Let me take a look in the bathtub.
They thought it was from termites, ma'am.
Listen, that's not his fault. That's your inspector's fault. Sue your inspector, not him. I mean, I don't know anything about the mechanisms of a house. I know how to go in, turn on a light, turn on a faucet. That's what I know. Open a refrigerator, and occasionally, if rarely, turn on an oven. But I do know this, that when you buy a house, you have a complete inspection, and it's simplistic that if there's wood rot that he notes twice under a bathtub, then you go and you peel off whatever is there, the strips that you put in so that you don't slip and fall. You peel it off, and you say, that's where it's leaking from.
It was covered up, ma'am. And the home inspector was not allowed to peel off the tape.
Who said that?
Because it was his home. It was his home. And the home
Miss Dennis, you didn't look carefully enough, and stop blaming other people. Now, let's get to the next part of your complaint. The next part of your complaint has to do with harassment.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did this harassment start before or after you locked the shed where Mr. Pierce's property was located?
We have an amendment signed by the contract at the closing that says that Mr. Pierce was not allowed to move his contents until the shed company came. The shed was not removed until a month later. The shed company also said that it was repossessed when it was picked up, which meant even though they would have kept his belongings.
Can you answer my question? The word is either before or after.
Before, during, and after.
So tell me when you locked the shed.
The 24th after I confronted him.
24th of what?
January, 2 days later after the closing.
Okay, 24th of January.
When I confronted him about the cracked tub.
And he said what to you?
That tub's fine, my kids use it all the time.
Okay.
And I said, well, how come you didn't disclose it to the home inspector, the realtor, or anybody else about the cracked tub? You know, maybe we could have negotiated a different price. Maybe I could, you know, just make me aware of it. He did not make me aware of it. My daughter could not bathe for days.
What he said to you was, my kids use that tub all the time, which is probably true because there was so much water underneath that the wood rotted, and the tub was fine. But on the 24th, you confronted him, 2 days after you closed. When did you lock the shed?
The 23rd.
You locked the shed the 23rd after you discovered the crack.
Before.
Your Honor, if I may.
Go ahead.
When I went to go pick up my possessions, which was on the 24th of January, the shed wasn't still locked. They advised me that there was a problem and that I had to deal with my realtor and her realtor at the time, which is her father-in-law. Well, in that event, I said to her, well, I came to get my Jeep and my stuff. She said, no, you're not getting it. And she was even going to hold my Jeep hostage.
No,
so I told her that I will not do this. If you want, we could resolve this with the deputies. She did give me my Jeep. I thought I would let this blow over. I had already scheduled to go up north on vacation. I already had a scheduled pickup for Cook. Cook, this doesn't come.
You had a
scheduled pickup for the shed and the contents to be picked up.
What do you mean, this is a rented shed?
It's a rented shed, yes it is. I had to make 3 different plans, 3 different arrangements to have the shed picked up. Finally, Cook Shed agreed to have this shed repoed, because then that would be a base of action for them to go on and retrieve that property. There was no other way of getting it. They withheld me from getting that shed. I was willing to get it that week of closing.
You mean the week of the 24th?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor,
Yes.
if I may. We signed a leased contract stating that Cook's shed would pick up shed and contents, not Mr. Pierce would come and pick up contents.
You were getting even. You were using the contents of the shed as leverage for the cracked bathtub.
Ma'am.
Miss Dennis,
Yes.
I want you to listen. You know, that's a rather simplistic thing. He's got property on your property.
Right.
You come in, and 2 days later or the next day find out that there's a cracked bathtub, and you're angry. So you say, I'm not giving him his property back until we resolve the issue of this bathtub. You have to be honest with me, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roseanne Dennis says Terry Pierce misrepresented the sale of his home by camouflaging a cracked bathtub. Terry says Roseanne is holding his belongings hostage.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, I was told to do that by my attorney.
Just a minute. I don't care whether you were told to do it, but that was, listen to me, Miss Dennis.
Yes.
That's the drill. Don't give him his property.
Until I was able to serve him.
Until you get satisfaction with regard to the bathtub. Now, what happened to his property?
Ma'am, the thing of it is that I was told that basically he would not give his address to my realtor or his realtor or anybody else so we could find him so I could serve him court papers. I had to hire a private investigator to try and find out his address because he wouldn't disclose it to anybody. I wanted to do this the civil way. I didn't want him on my property. I was scared of Mr. Pierce. I had to buy a gun. My fiance, HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Your fiance did not commit suicide over this, Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS.
Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS on the same day that the sheriff came to look for his property, and he was not there. HRS came.
Miss Dennis.
That was a coincidence.
Miss Dennis. If you've deluded yourself into believing that your fiancé committed suicide over this cracked tub and everything that came from it, you are doing nothing more than deluding yourself.
It caused a lot of problems between us.
It may have caused a lot of problems between you, problems that I'm certain existed before. Certainly the same bathtub happened to you. You did not commit suicide as a result of this cracked bathtub, and neither did your fiancé.
And neither did your fiancé. My fiancé did. He was scared that he was going to lose our baby. He didn't know anything about protective services. This was his first child.
Listen to me carefully. Nobody took your child from you, correct?
No.
Nobody took the child out of the house, Miss Dennis.
My fiancé did not understand that, Your Honor. He thought protective services would continuously bug us. I got an HRS report here that says that the allegations were false. The call was made on the same day that the police came to look from his stuff.
HRS said Terry Pierce.
And basically,
Mr. Pierce.
Sorry, ma'am.
Don't interrupt.
Ma'am, if I could just submit that it was the same day that the sheriff came to look for his belongings and they were not on the property, that's the same day HRS was called.
That's not proof that he called, madam.
Your Honor,
I don't know who else was.
I don't know who else called either, but what I'm telling you is you bought a house.
I didn't know anybody else in that county.
This is a stressful time for you. You have a new baby. The baby's father is no longer there to assist you. You made a mistake when you purchased this house by not reading this inspection very carefully. Any person purchasing a house, bells would have gone off and said, listen, if there's rot, there has to be a reason. I want you to go back there. I'm not satisfied with the report. I want you to go back there and look at it. See what's causing that water to get into the wood underneath the bathtub. You didn't do that. The house is closed. Miss Dennis, speak not. But you had no right. You have no right to withhold his property. I mean, if a lawyer gave you that advice, don't give him his property until you get the bathtub resolved.
No,
that's the wrong thing to do.
Serve him.
What kind of damage are you claiming, Mr. Pierce?
Well, Your Honor, the contents that I had in the shed, which they allegedly said they never had, was damaged. It was destroyed. Well, I had a computer. I have a list. The stuff was damaged and destroyed, and a loss of wages from the tools that they withheld. They stole all my documentation from my income tax returns for the last 7 years, my investment portfolio papers. They took photographs of my wife, my children, and which we never had gotten.
You never got them back?
I never got them back, ma'am. No, I didn't.
What did the plaintiff do with your property?
they lied about their identities to the sheriffs. Okay, that's why the sheriffs had to keep coming back to the house. They were getting no cooperation. They lied
Just a
about who
second.
they were.
I asked you a question. I said, what did they do? The shed came and got taken away. When the shed came and was repossessed, was your stuff in the shed?
No, it wasn't, because I was there that day. They came and picked up the stuff.
What happened to the property?
It wound up in a used storage facility down by her ex-father-in-law down in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And
so
I
they
also,
moved the property out of the shed
yes,
into another facility.
yes, and they claim they never had it.
From what place did you take his property and where did you put it?
I removed the property out of the shed and I put it in use storage. The woman who works there, Joyce, watched as his property was being removed, and basically she noticed that nothing had been damaged.
Don't tell me what she noticed, Miss Dennis. You made a big mistake. You have absolutely no legal justification or right to move his property from where it was to you store it. And if anything happened to that property from the time he put it in there until the time he finally retrieved whatever he retrieved from you store it, you are responsible. There is no legal right that you had to move it. Let me see what you claim, Mr. Pierce, was destroyed and or lost.
Here's a list from the sheriff's department, and here's some paycheck stubs as of last week.
I'm not interested in paycheck stubs,
well,
sir.
that's part of the loss.
I'm not entertaining the part of the lawsuit that indicates that they withheld tools and therefore you couldn't work. That's iffy, at best. What are you showing me this? I asked you what you could
There's a list, an itemized list from the sheriff's department. My work tools.
You never got them back?
No, I never got them back. Which ones I did get back were broken. And the gentleman who owns you store it, I made him... see, I couldn't open up the combination lock because I was really upset that day. And I made the owner of the storage facility come to the place, and he opened it up in my presence, and he saw that the stuff was just thrown in there.
There's no question in my mind it was just thrown in there.
Ma'am,
I want to see, sir, a bill for repairing the computer.
I never repaired it. I just went and bought a new one. I paid $1,199 for that unit that has been broken, but I went to the Gateway and I bought a new one for $799.
What else?
My radio arm saws, my chop boxes, tools that I use. I install windows for a living.
Okay. Do you have any bills, Mr. Pierce, any receipts for the replacement of those tools?
No, but the deputy who wrote up the report, he had made a list of what the stuff was worth.
I'm not interested in what the deputy thought the stuff was worth,
Right.
Mr. Pierce. You say you need these tools for your living. So I assume if you went to the shed and the tools were either lost or destroyed, you had to replace them.
Well, I did.
So all I'm asking you is for the receipts so that I can see how much it cost to replace the tools that you said were missing.
I didn't think to bring them because of the fact that they were written on paper. I showed the deputy report.
Just a second. Give this back to me. This is nonsense.
Your Honor, nothing was damaged or broken.
Just a second. Mr. Pierce, I'm not stupid lady.
I know you're not. But
Fine. Then when you come to court, you don't tell me what a deputy thought your tools were worth.
I had to prove
what
to
you
them.
do. What you do is you bring receipts to court,
right.
so that you show me I bought this saw and this is what it cost.
You're right.
All right. So you don't have that. What else?
That's about it, except for the
Your Honor, may I say
loss of
something,
wages.
please?
Who are you?
She's my
Ma'am,
mother.
I'm Marguerite Dennis, Roseanne's mother.
Sure. What do you have
Co-owner
to
of the-
contribute to this?
May I address the court?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, in a separate transaction from purchasing the home, we bought some furniture, and inadvertently, not realizing what all we had bought from his wife, he packed one of the pieces of furniture that we had bought. So he agreed to bring it back to us the next day.
What was that piece of furniture?
It was a wicker love bench.
Okay.
And at that time, he was welcomed onto the property to get his vehicle. And at that point in time, he had every opportunity to go to the shed, get his work tools, or get whatever else he wanted to. Common sense would just tell me that if you're given the opportunity to go into your shed, you inadvertently or purposely left tools that you need in order to do your job, earn your bread and butter, you're going to go and get them. You're going to retrieve them.
Or take them when you
That's
move.
not true, Your Honor.
All I'm telling you is, Miss Dennis, I'm not giving him any money for the tools because he cannot establish to my satisfaction what those tools were.
I understand that, Your
and
Honor.
how much it cost to replace them. I'm also telling you and your daughter that it was the wrong thing to do to move any of his property off the property
I
into you
understand that,
store
Your
it
Honor.
And I don't care who gave her that advice. It was very bad advice. Ms. Dennis, while I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800 on his counterclaim, and that is really for the computer, because I don't think you can buy a new computer for less than $800.
Ma'am, I have a repair bill for the tub.
I am not.
I know you don't.
I am telling you, that's your fault. If you hired an inspector that didn't do his job...
It was covered up by
Did you understand me? You know, I can't say it to you more than 10 times. If an inspector notes rot under a bathtub, you look further.
He could have disclosed it because it's against the law.
Oh, gee, Miss Dennis, you just don't get it. Take responsibility.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
Did you give them back the wicker bench?
That's the day I found out that I was not allowed to go into the shed and get my property.
Okay.
So they're lying about that also.
Okay, I'm dismissing the claim, and on the counterclaim, I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stewart versus Cobb. Step forward, please.
Store manager Sandra Stewart is suing dietary aide Lynn Cobb for damaging her rental truck when she beat it with a stick. Lynn says she caught Sandra with her boyfriend.
All right, Miss Stewart, one evening you were sitting in a truck that you had rented. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning?
After 3.
And you were sitting in your truck with the handsome and affable Bruce, who happened to at that time have been her boyfriend.
Correct.
You didn't know her.
No.
And according to your complaint, Miss Cobb is out looking for Bruce and finds you and Bruce sitting in your rental truck.
Correct.
And proceeds to go ballistic on your truck.
Correct.
Hitting it with a stick and causing a whole bunch of damage for which you are responsible to the rental company, and they are billing you some $624. And you want Miss Cobb to pay.
Correct.
Miss Cobb says she didn't hit your truck, she just hit you. So tell me when this was and what you were doing sitting with the handsome and affable and I see absent Bruce.
Right. It happened on August the 31st of this year at my job. I was working for the Star and Press. My position was a field rep. I come in at 1 a.m., Bruce comes in at 3 a.m.
So you're like a dispatcher of newspapers?
Correct.
Okay, so go ahead.
Bruce comes in about 3:15. 5 or 6 minutes after Bruce was in the truck with me, we hear this little noisy car. A couple seconds later, this automobile pulls up in the tunnel, because we're in the tunnel. She jumps out of the car. I don't know what she...
the defendant.
Right. She comes over to the truck, and she says something to Bruce. Something about out all night long or something. I looks over at Bruce, and I ask Bruce, who the F is this? Bruce, who is this? Well, she has this stick that is probably the length of this table right here. Nice size. It's like a tree branch. It once used to be a tree branch, but it's been shellacked and fixed up all kind of pretty, like a walking stick. She jabs this stick into the truck a couple times, babbling something. Don't know what she was saying.
Through the passenger door? Through the
driver's door. I'm in the driver's seat.
Oh, you're in the driver's door.
Right. Bruce gets out of the truck from the passenger side. He gets out of the truck. He walks around the front of the truck. Well, she said, "You the one that my husband spent the night with?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" Our bags out of the passenger seat, out through the passenger door, backwards. She says at the back of the truck, "Itch, I'm gonna do this, itch, I'm gonna do this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She says something about, "My man stayed all night with you last night." And I was like, "Your man ain't stayed all night with me. I have no clue what you're talking about or who the F you are."
Go ahead.
Bruce goes toward her. She swings this stick, and it hits the back of the truck, the top part of the truck. It hits the back of the truck.
Bruce, did she ever hit you?
No.
Never hit you? Did she ever hit Bruce?
No, she swung at him the first time with the stick, and that's where she hit the truck. She didn't hit him.
Did she eventually get back in her car?
Bruce tackled her some kind of way and kind of threw her in the car to where she was on her backside. Bruce was on top of her. She pushed the car in drive that she's driving. She runs over Bruce's foot. She puts it back in reverse. She hits him, knocks him down, comes back forward where he has sit down flat, runs over his leg, tries to get out of the tunnel, couldn't get out, hung a U-turn and come back the other way to get out.
Was an ambulance called?
Yes, for Bruce.
Was he taken to the hospital?
No, he wouldn't go.
He's been run over 3 times, according to your story.
She ran over his foot, she hit him, knocked him down, came back forward across him.
Okay, let's go.
I did not hit her truck. We was running around the truck.
What were you doing there?
I came to see who he was with.
Why?
Because I wanted to know.
You married to him?
No. But we've been together 11 years. I wanted to know.
Why were you angry with her?
What she's not telling is that I had called him on his cell phone, and we had our talk or whatever. He didn't turn his cell phone off. So I heard the whole conversation of what was going on, blase school, blase school. Okay.
So, what are you mad at her for?
I was mad at both of them.
What are you mad at her for?
Because she was with my husband.
Just a second. A, you don't have a husband.
Well, she was with my boyfriend.
Well, so you be mad at him? How do you know
I'm
what he
mad at
told
him
her?
too.
How do you know what he told her?
Okay.
How do you know what he told her?
I don't know what he told her then.
Right, so what are you mad at her for?
Okay, I'm not mad at her then.
And where did Bruce go on the 31st of August?
He went to work, I guess.
And did he come home?
Yeah, eventually.
So the two of you made up?
We made up eventually, but, you know.
He came home?
Yeah, he came home.
Can I see the damage to the truck, please?
And Judge Judy, there's another automobile, my truck, she damaged Monday night, this Monday night.
Just for my information, where was your car or truck that you damaged this past Monday night?
I stopped at my sister's before going home to get things together. It's like 8:45 p.m. Went into my sister's house, came back out about 5 minutes till 9. She approached me from behind this building. I had my 2-year-old by the hand. She walked in front of me. She says, "Now what? Now what? What about tomorrow?" I called my sister's name because she always watches us go to the automobile. I said, "Lauren, come get my baby." She stepped right out of the door, grabbed my baby. "Sandra, what's wrong?" I said, "Just get my baby." Then she sees Lynn. She says, "No, you got somewhere to go. You got a plane to catch. Come on in the house. We're going to call the police." When I come back out with the baby, after I gave the report with the police, come back out to get the baby, the police is in the parking lot next to my Ford Explorer, says, "Sandra, look, my tires are cut and my truck is keyed."
I'm not going to ask her to respond to that because this is a complaint that's still open. But I certainly think that if it's true, Ms. Cobb, if any part of it is true, that if you even saw her on Monday night, you're making a big mistake. Because you want to know something? Old Bruce isn't worth it.
Sure ain't.
I just want you to think. You have children?
Yeah.
How old are your children?
My children are grown.
Well, your grown children don't want to have to come and visit you in a lockup.
Right.
Ms. Cobb, I have to make a judgment, and I have to make a judgment that if someone is angry enough to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go out in their car and search for their boyfriend, who they believe has been fooling around with somebody else, and they find them in a truck, that if I am to believe you, did absolutely nothing as a result of that. Now, Miss Stewart would seem to me is a relatively normal person. If you had hit her with this stick, as you suggest, rather than hitting your truck, there is no way that the police would have let you go. So I have to make a judgment whether I believe that you did nothing. And I don't believe that you did nothing. I believe that you did something. And I believe that you damaged the truck that she was driving in. Now, the rental car company is charging her for these marks that were made on the truck, $624.65, and I believe that you are responsible for that. And I'm going to reiterate, Ms. Cobb, you don't seem like a bad person.
I'm not.
I don't know whether Bruce is a bad person, but all I can tell you this, Bruce isn't going to be standing before a judge. You are.
Right.
Is he worth it?
No.
Good. Goodbye.
This case number 322 on the calendar in the matter of Newens versus Newens. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Newens, when were you and the defendant married?
We were married in June of 1997. Or, excuse me, 1987.
And when were you divorced?
August of 1996.
Do you have children?
We have 4 children.
From 1987 till 1996, in what state did you reside?
From 1987 to 1996, we resided in California and in Wisconsin.
When did you reside in Wisconsin?
From 1992 to the beginning of 1994.
I ask you this because the timeline here is quite important.
Yes.
According to your complaint, after your divorce, you and your former wife were arrested here in California. And you were arrested on outstanding warrants from the state of Wisconsin for welfare fraud. According to you, there was an agreement between you and your former wife that if you paid whatever fines there were in Wisconsin, which amounted to $4,800, she would give you credit for $2,400 towards what you owed her in child support.
Correct.
Now you've been summoned to court, and you've been told by the judge that you have to pay those arrears, which are probably more substantial than $2,400.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said to her, what about the agreement we had, that you would give me credit for half of that? And she said, we don't have an agreement. So you want $2,400, which is her half of what you paid to the state of Wisconsin in order to get rid of all the charges pending against both of you.
Correct.
You were in the state of California when you were arrested, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had an attorney?
No, ma'am.
Who told you that if you paid this $4,800, you wouldn't have to go back to Wisconsin to surrender yourself?
The district attorney of Outagamie County, Wisconsin.
Now, tell me what the welfare fraud was about from 1992 to 1994.
I believe it's for food stamps and medical aid.
How come there was fraud, sir?
I believe there was fraud because we left the state as we were on welfare to move back to California without notifying the welfare department that we were moving.
You were on welfare in Wisconsin.
We were not collecting money, Your Honor. We were collecting food stamps and we were collecting medical.
Benefits. You were collecting welfare benefits.
Yes.
Is that because you were unemployed?
I was unemployed at the time.
Who were you living with?
Nancy and I were renting a house.
Who paid for the rent on the house if you were unemployed?
We paid for the rent on the house.
How?
Because I got a job at installing garage doors. I wasn't employed the whole time. And it wasn't a sufficient amount of money to support the family. That's why we went for aid.
So your wife stayed at home with the children?
She did.
So you're telling me that they sued you for fraud for $4,800 because you left the state and they didn't have to pay you money anymore?
We basically left the state, and instead of tracking us down and figuring out that they wanted all of their benefits back, which totaled the $4,880.
Probably the only person in creation that I know that happens to. Usually they say, wow, they're out there with California's problem now. Now, Mr. Newens, how much do you owe in child support, sir?
$10,000 in child support and $10,000 in alimony.
How come you haven't paid any money?
Well, I've actually paid a lot of money, Your Honor. The reason being is because in the state of California, your ex-wife or whoever's receiving the support can go back at any time and ask for an audit of the payments, which she did. And I had a court order for my employers to pay her directly, which they did, but I had to prove it, and these two employers were no longer in business, so I could not find the record of payments.
So you're telling me that the judgment was entered against you and you have to pay arrears on $20,000 for money that you paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a lawyer representing you this time?
No, ma'am. But the litigation went for a whole year. Ma'am, I can't afford a lawyer. I work 60 hours a week to support 4 kids. My ex-wife, since the day we married, has not worked at all and still doesn't to this day. She solely relies on my support to support all 4 kids.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Newens. Now we're going to come to you. He says that you were receiving partial benefits. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea why you were charged with welfare fraud?
It was explained to me when, without notifying the county about our moving, there was a warrant automatically slapped on because there was an outstanding amount that needs to be paid back, like $700 and some odd.
For what?
For overpayment is what they called it.
So you were notified that you were receiving overpayment of $700 while you were living in Wisconsin?
Yes.
And you left without paying that amount?
Yes. They were charging us interest and stuff because of penalties on that.
Now, your former husband says that he paid you this money, this $10,000 in child support and $10,000 in alimony. Is that true, that he's paid you this money?
I have, Your Honor, from the month, some partial payments, and for the last month of October, I received...
Look at me. Now you can speak.
Okay, I'm sorry. $29.90 for the month of October, $500 for the month of September, and before that, nothing. Payments are coming, and partial payments, whole payments, every now and then, off and on through the last couple of years.
Did they come right out of his check?
He's self-employed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I would suggest you find yourself some way of earning a living that you enjoy, because otherwise you're going to be relying on him forever. And that's wrong.
And later today,
we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Ms. Harris said.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Todd Newen says ex-wife Nancy Newens owes for an unpaid loan for bail after they both were arrested for welfare fraud. Nancy says Todd doesn't pay his child support.
How long have you been self-employed, Mr. Newens?
Roughly 3 years.
So when you say that your employer, what employer are you talking about that you couldn't find?
The court order dates back to 1997. The amount in arrears they're asking for was for 97 and 98.
Just those 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so this proceeding had nothing to do with current arrears for the year 2000, 2001, 2002. Is that what you're telling me?
What they, I have a court order here that I got from them. What they dated it from 6 of 97 to 10/1 of 02 to make it current.
I asked you a question. The question I asked you was whether you were telling me that the arrears that they were talking about, that you just had a trial on, dealt with monies that you owed. You said from 97 and 98.
Correct.
And I said that they conducted a whole hearing for a year and didn't bring that amount up to the current date for arrears. And you said, oh, I have the order. And the order says that those were arrears that you owe from 97 to the year 02.
The reason why they did that, Your Honor, is because we were fighting for the last year in court over the amount of arrears. And it was my burden to prove that all my previous employers paid.
All right, forget the previous employees from 97 to 98. She says she has been receiving sporadic payments. Is that true? And now you're self-employed.
Yes, it is true.
Sometimes it's true. All right, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I'm going to get to it, Mr. Newens. Don't pussyfoot around me. Are you remarried?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You have children with your new wife?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let's start with August of 2002. How much money did you send to your former wife for child support and alimony in August of 2002?
Your Honor, I don't have that information with me, and the reason why I don't have that information with me is because it's quite irrelevant, because I have an order that you have before you stating the amount I have to pay in arrears of $200 per month.
That's perfect. So what are you bothering me for?
I'm asking for money owed that I can't, that I paid $4,880 for, that I can't get credit through the County of San Bernardino for child support, which had she not agreed to credit me half, I would have never made the payment. We would have flew back to Wisconsin and fought this battle in court.
So then I'm going to resolve it very quickly for you, sir.
Okay.
From 1992 to 1994, according to you, you had 2 young children, and your former wife was unemployed. She was taking care of the children. It was therefore your responsibility, your contractual responsibility with your former wife, to be the provider. You found that you could not be a provider for your wife and your 2 young children, so you were forced to apply to the state for certain benefits. Then you were advised that there was an overpayment of $700. Rather than taking care of that part of your financial responsibility before you left the state of Wisconsin, you decided to leave the state of Wisconsin and move to California. It was because of that that they issued a warrant for the both of you. You paid that amount. That's not for child support. That's not for spousal support. That's to reimburse the state for money that the state expended on behalf of you and your family because you could not fulfill your end of the contractual marital responsibility with your former wife. And in addition to that, you have continued to accrue arrears over the years, the last 3 years when you've been self-employed. Sometimes you pay, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you send a little, sometimes you send a lot. That doesn't excuse you from working at some point. Are you working now?
Yes, I am.
Good. What kind of work do you do?
Right now I do child care. And in the past I was doing dental assisting.
Well, I would suggest you find yourself some way of earning a living that you enjoy.
Exactly.
And if it's not child care, because child care sometimes is a temporary thing that you do when your children are very little, because that's a way to take care of your responsibility as a stay-at-home parent and also make some extra money. But I'm going to strongly urge you to find a career that you like, because otherwise you're going to be relying on him forever. And that's wrong for your support. You both have to support these children. You both made them now. You're not living together. You're not married. You both have to support them. But she certainly isn't going to give you back $2,400 for money that you owe the state of Wisconsin, sir. Your complaint's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nancy's been on a free ride for many years, refusing to work.
It should be said and done. It was over in court beforehand.
After she got out of jail, she's free, the bill's paid. It's the heck with me.
Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 257 on the calendar in the matter of Michaud versus Canfield. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Michaud, you have a teenage daughter who's been giving you some trouble, I gather. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant, who also has a teenager who's a little bit of a problem, the defendant assisted your daughter in running away from a shelter where she was placed. During the course of this running away, she committed a series of crimes for which you have been held responsible for the fines.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are suing her for interfering with your daughter's custody,
Yes, ma'am.
which caused you not only emotional distress, which you are suing for, but also the payment of these fines that you had to pay through the courts for the various crimes that your daughter committed while on the run.
Correct.
And you say that that was facilitated by the defendant's conduct in harboring her.
Correct.
The defendant says that she didn't know that all of this problem was going to develop when she went and picked your daughter up from a gas station where she had placed a call, that she in fact tried to get her to return and turn herself in when she found out that she had done some of these things, that she was really only trying to help.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your daughter?
Over there.
This
in the black, ma'am.
Step up here. What's your first name?
Amber.
How old are you, Amber?
17.
How old were you when all this trouble started? 17 or 16?
16.
Does the defendant have a daughter who's a friend of yours?
She used to be my friend.
What's her name?
Lissy.
Spell it.
Lissy.
Now, where were you and Lissy? Were you in a facility, in a shelter?
We were in Antrim Girl Shelter together.
And how did you get to this girl shelter?
I was put in the girl shelter for not going home for a week, the week I stayed at Lissy's house.
So your mother put you there?
No, the judge put me there because I was on probation and I was court ordered to be home.
You were on probation for what?
A lot of stuff. I don't remember exactly.
Well, was you on probation for stuff that involved your mother or stuff that involved the rest of the community, like shoplifting and stealing?
Stuff that involved the rest of the community.
So you had been arrested for committing a series of petty crimes?
Yes.
You were placed on probation. A condition of your probation was that you were to stay at home.
Yes.
And have a curfew. And
Yes.
do all the other things that a normal 16-year-old does.
Yes.
And you violated your probation according to you. I'm just trying to put this in English so that everybody, including Bird, understands it.
Okay.
So you were told that you had to do everything right, and then you wouldn't go to jail.
Yes.
But you didn't. You went to stay at Miss Canfield's house with Lissy for a week.
Yes.
And then you were placed in this shelter by the judge because you violated the terms of your probation.
Yes.
When were you placed in the shelter with Lissy?
We met up in the shelter. I've been to the shelter like 3 times. And we met up there the first time I was there. And then it was Thanksgiving time. I stayed at her house because my probation officer told me that if I didn't stop getting in trouble, he was going to put me back in the shelter. So I went and stayed at Lissy's house. And then I decided to go home the day after Thanksgiving. And then I got sent to the shelter.
She was arrested the day after Thanksgiving, Your Honor. She called me from the Canfield residence and asked me if I was going to call the cops if she came home. I told her I wouldn't. When I hung up from her, I called the police station and told them, my daughter's on her way home. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to call you and tell you that she's here, and hang up the phone. And when she pulled in the driveway in the Canfield truck, I called the Dover Police Department and said, Amber's home, and hung up the phone. And the next thing I know, there was cops everywhere. And I did not inform her that I was going to do that. I did it because I needed to protect her. She wasn't protecting herself.
Okay. Had you, in fact, called Mrs. Canfield during this Thanksgiving week when she wasn't at the shelter?
No, ma'am, I did not. I did not know where my daughter was the week of Thanksgiving. I didn't know about Mrs. Canfield and Lizzie, other than Lizzie was Amber's friend. Amber would ask to go to Lizzie's house before Thanksgiving, and I let Amber go, not knowing the type of home that it was at the time.
Well, why didn't you know?
I guess ignorance on my part. Amber just said it was a friend of hers.
That's your job to know.
Yes, ma'am.
If you let your daughter, who's been in trouble before, go to a girl's house, and I assume you knew that she met Lissy at the shelter, right?
I wasn't sure where she had met Lizzie.
Well,
I've met
did you
Lizzie.
ask the question, where did you meet Lissy?
No, ma'am.
You're trying to place blame on this lady.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm coming back to you and I'm saying, maybe partially her fault, but let's come back to you. What information did you have or should you have had with proper exercise of your parental responsibility? What quality information could you have gotten if you asked a few questions or did a little digging? You would have found out that Lissy was a girl that she met at the shelter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would have told you one thing. Trouble! Then when she said, I want to spend some time at Lissy's house, say, okay, I'm going to get in the car and go over to Miss Canfield's and we're going to have a chat because just because you met her at the shelter, maybe she's not a girl who's all bad. Maybe it would be good for you to be together. But let me speak with Mrs. Canfield and find out what kind of a lady she is, what kind of a house it is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You did none of that?
No, ma'am.
So there's a little, on your side, a little blame.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
This one's
Your Honor.
probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Possible bipolar, possible just bad.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Gail Michaud says when her daughter, 17-year-old Amber Burley, ran away from home, she was aided by Lisa Canfield. Gail says during that time, Amber committed a series of crimes.
Now, when you ran away, Amber, you committed another series of crimes, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, what did you do?
When I left the shelter, I left with their van and...
The shelter's van?
Yeah.
How industrious of you.
Yes. It wasn't good on my half, and I also took allowance money.
What do you
to
mean
where I was
allowance
going.
money? Whose allowance money?
Like, they put all the girls' allowance money in one.
All the girls, not just your allowance, but so you stole money from the
Yes.
shelter. So you stole both the van and money.
Yes.
And you left with Lissy?
Lissy was at home. She had called me and told me that she was coming to get me because I had court in 2 days and I was supposed to go to the youth detention center.
Sounds like a perfect place for you.
Well, Lissy called and told me she was coming to get me, and then I called her house back and I talked to her mom and I informed her mom that I was coming.
Is that what she said to you?
No, Your Honor, that's not
What
what
did she say?
said. She had called a couple days before and had talked to Lissy, and then at one point had left a message on the answering machine for Lissy. I didn't realize she was going to leave placement at that time.
But you went and picked her up according to the complaint that I read.
A couple nights later at 2 o'clock in the morning, she called me and said she had been in an accident, and I didn't know that she had stolen the van. I didn't know that's how she had left placement, Your Honor.
Yes?
When I called Lissy, I told Lissy.
I'm not talking about Lissy, I'm talking about her mother.
Her mother. I told her mother that I stole the van and the money, I got into a car accident, and I needed a ride home. And I told her that I'd give her...
Baloney!
That's not what she said.
Bull! I don't believe that you told her I stole. Okay. I stole the van and I stole money, please come and get me, because I had an accident. That I don't believe. I might believe that you said to her I had an accident, and then later on she found out that you had stolen the van. But I don't believe that you right up front said to her I stole the van. Why would she come pick you up? Is she crazy?
Because I gave her $50 for coming to get me. With the stolen money, I said, can you please come and get me? I will give you $50.
That I believe. That you said to her, please, I was in an accident, come and get me, I'll give you $50. That I believe.
After I told her that I stole the money.
That I don't believe.
I did.
I mean, I don't know anything about her. All I know about you is that you're a liar, that you're a thief, that you place your needs over the needs of everybody else. So if I have to rely on my common sense would dictate to me that when you got on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't say anything that would turn off an alarm in her head and say, I better not get involved with this, that you would say, please, I had an accident, come and get me, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And she said, I don't think I want to do that. And you said, I'll give you $50 if you come and get me. And she may not be the nicest person. I mean, I may not entrust her with my grandchildren, but she doesn't sound to me like she's psychotic. You'd have to be psychotic to come and pick you up when you told her, I stole the van that I'm in, and I stole the money that I have, and I'm going to give you $50 of the stolen money. That doesn't jive with my common sense. In any event, you should have known better, Miss Canfield, because you knew where your daughter met her. You knew a lot more about her than just that she was a nice young girl from around the neighborhood that your daughter was palling around with. So you should have kept your nose out of other people's business.
Well,
right?
what was I didn't feel right leaving her in the middle of a snowstorm.
Tell her to call the police.
In a car accident.
Tell her to call the police, Miss Canfield.
I didn't do that. I just...
Well, I know you didn't do that, but you should have.
Yeah, well, I probably should
Well,
have.
you should have. Why didn't you say to her, why don't you call your mother?
Because she told me her mother doesn't have a license.
When did she tell you her mother doesn't have a license?
A long time ago, when she first started coming to our house.
Call another relative. Do you understand what I mean, Miss Canfield?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you understand that I believe that either through your own stupidity or whatever, you aided her in doing the wrong thing.
And that was not my intention, Your Honor.
Well, it may not have been your intention, but that's exactly what you did. When you went to pick her up, before you went, you did call her mother and tell her, I'm going to pick up your daughter.
Not at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Why not?
Because I didn't even have her phone number.
Why didn't you say to her, give me your mother's phone number? I wanted to know where you are.
Because I figured if she wanted to call her mother, she would have.
There's your problem. She's 16.
And I know that she had some problems with her mother before. That's why she came to my house at Thanksgiving.
That's not your business. You chose to let that be your business.
Because I feel bad for kids sometimes.
You having trouble with your own daughter?
Yes, and that's why I feel bad for kids sometimes.
That doesn't make you a poster mom for Dr. Spock.
No,
that
it
makes
doesn't.
That makes you somebody who's had trouble rearing their own teenage daughter and doesn't make you an expert in child rearing. So you don't have enough parental skills to take care of your own daughter. What gives you the right to take care of somebody else's daughter who's a problem?
That has bipolar has nothing to do with parental skills.
Oh, yes, just a second.
It's a disorder.
Just listen to me very carefully. I haven't heard that she's been diagnosed with being a bipolar.
My daughter has.
But what gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
This one's
Your Honor.
probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe. You know, a lot of bad behavior has been attributed to a lot. They always like to put a label on things. You know, label instead of just being a rebellious teenager, just being somebody who is naughty, just being somebody who is undisciplined. Possible bipolar, possible just bad. People don't like to use that term. But it is possible. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You believe that Miss Canfield is responsible for all your troubles with regard to this incident. Is that right?
No, ma'am, I don't believe she's responsible for
Well,
all of them.
Good. You are at least partially responsible. You should have known where
Yes,
she
ma'am.
was.
Yes,
You should have known who Miss Canfield was. You should have visited her home.
Yes, ma'am.
You should have gotten some information about her before you let your daughter go there.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop moving around. Sorry. Okay. Now, what would the extent of your fines?
Right now, I'm still pending fines for something that also took place while I was at Miss Canfield's house. Me and her daughter went to a car dealership and took a bunch of cars. We took them to Miss Canfield's house. They were there for 2 days, and then we woke up one day and decided we were going to go see my dad. So we took one of the cars to Lissy's mom's work. We showed her the car. We told her that we were going to go up to my dad's. And then Lissy decided to go with her boyfriend. I went with my dad. I ended up in a high-speed chase.
You went with your dad?
Yes.
Did your father say, where did you get the car from?
My father called the police on me.
And is that when you got into the high-speed chase?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you were finally apprehended?
No, I was caught at Miss Canfield's house 3 days later.
I see. So you beat the police in the chase?
Yes, and I went to a phone and called Lisa and asked her to come get me.
I see. So in this high-speed chase, you lost them at the border of New Hampshire.
Nope, they followed me all the way to Dover. They were right behind me. We just jumped out of the car, and because it was the town that I lived in, we knew it, and the police officer didn't, so we all just
Who's
ran.
the we? All.
There was me, Randy, Nicole, and Brittany in the car.
Where'd you get them from?
Lisa's house.
No, they weren't at my house.
Where did you meet them?
Nicole is my best friend. I've known her since I was 12. And
Does she have any psychiatric problems?
No.
Huh?
No, ma'am.
So she's not bipolar?
No, she's not.
And who else?
Not yet.
I met Randy at Miss Canfield's house.
So how long do you know Randy?
I knew him for like 2 weeks.
He's not bipolar, is he?
He's not. I don't know if he's bipolar.
You don't think you're nuts, do you?
I was. Not no more.
Oh, good. Maybe it was the 5.5 months you spent in the juvenile facility.
Yeah.
When you were in the juvenile facility, I'm really curious about this. Were you on medication?
Yes.
How often?
I took 900 milligrams of lithium once a day.
And now?
Same thing. It's court ordered for me to take it.
You staying closer to home these days?
I live with my mom now.
I asked you if you're staying closer to home.
Yes.
You doing anything like going to school?
I recently enrolled back in high school, and I participate in community service at youth resources.
Not voluntarily, I assume.
Yes, voluntarily.
What happened as a result of stealing the van and stealing the money?
I got a $650 fine, and I spent 5 months and 3 days in the youth detention center.
Oh, well, that's an eye-opener. Did you like it?
No, I didn't.
I assume not. And I assume that you would prefer not to go back there.
No, never.
No, never. You know what the youth detention facility is like after spending 5 months there?
Yes, I do.
Paradise compared to adult jail. Paradise. Miss Canfield, did there ever come a time when your daughter and Amber came to your house and had a couple of cars with them?
When
the answer is either yes or no.
I was at work, so I'm trying to answer you the best I can. I know the car, one of the cars was there because it drove over my septic system, and I saw where it drove over when I got home.
What kind of car was it?
I have no idea.
Was it a new car or an old car?
It was new.
New car?
Yes.
Didn't you ask about it?
Well, it wasn't at my house when I got home. I just know there had been a car at my home because it drove over the back lawn.
Didn't you ask about it?
Yes.
And what did your daughter tell you?
She said they had taken a car, and I told them to take it back.
Did you call the police?
No, I did not.
Look, your problem, Miss Canfield, in all of this is that I gather from the papers that you either were found guilty or pled guilty in the criminal court to somehow interfering with the plaintiff's custody of her daughter. Is that true?
In order to get the deal, I had to plead guilty to all charges.
There you go. So you pled guilty?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Canfield, as I indicated to you before, even if I didn't find that you were responsible in any way for this young lady's antics, you already acknowledged that you were responsible for this young lady's antics, at least partially responsible by your guilty plea in the criminal court.
Well,
I think that her mother is more responsible than she's willing to acknowledge in not making sure where her daughter was.
Ma'am, I take responsibility for what?
Good. Well, then you're suing
do
the
in my
plaintiff for $5,000. That includes your emotional distress, part of which you're responsible for.
Yes, ma'am.
And the fines. So I think so far she's responsible for all the fines and you're responsible for your own emotional distress. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brennan versus Brennan. Step forward, please.
20-year-old homemaker Amanda Brennan is suing her aunt, Elizabeth Brennan, for unpaid utility bills.
Miss Brennan, how is the defendant related to you?
She's my aunt.
According to your complaint, she owes you for some utility bills that were put in your name, but for her home.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of some credit problem that she allegedly has.
Yes, ma'am.
Your aunt says that you actually lived there rent-free. She paid the rent and you paid for the utilities. Is that your defense? Did you, in fact, live with your aunt at any time?
No.
You did not?
No, I did not live.
Did you stay with her at any time?
I would stay with her here and there to help her out while she took her boyfriend to work, and I watched her son in the morning.
When did you put the utilities in your name?
The cable bill was put in my name in her home for 2/28/01. The PG&E Energy was installed on 2/14/01, and it was disconnected at 11/2/01. The water was I'm not sure about that.
Well, you must have gotten bills for it.
No, it all went to her home. She got the bills.
All right. So in February of 2001, tell me why you put the utilities in your name.
Oh, well, at one point she was living in West Wyoming. At that time, I did live with her in West Wyoming.
When was that?
It was, I believe
Was that
it
in
was,
February?
No, not in February.
Those bills were from February of 01. Tell me how they got to be put in your name.
She could not get anything put into her name because she had bad credit. She helped me out through problems that I was having. I had a drug problem. She helped me out with that. She helped me out with helping me get an apartment and all that. And with
how did she help you?
Her landlord that she knew in West Wyoming that she was living with, she asked him about an apartment, and He showed it to me and he gave it to me because of her.
So when she moved to this place in Pennsylvania, you still didn't tell me how the bills got to be put in your name.
She asked me if I would put the bills in my name because she could not turn them on in her name because of her bad credit. She had to
And
put
you
her
had
money.
good credit?
I didn't have good credit, but I had fair credit.
And where were you living at that time in February of 2001?
I'm not sure if I was living in Dallas. I'm not quite sure about that date. I'm not.
Well, you have to. Where was she living?
She was living with me because I moved from West Wyoming to Hillside Ave. Me and my boyfriend moved her out of Dallas, moved her into my house where I stored her stuff. And she lived with me up until February 16th of 2001.
Of 2001. When did she move into your house?
She moved in February 9th. Plus, she stayed over after that.
I'm not talking about staying over, Miss Brennan. I'm talking about living with you. She only lived with you in this location for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the place where the bills were put in your name.
Yes, ma'am.
So she asked you to put the bills in your name.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were, in fact, staying there for a couple of weeks. Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I had a lot of things to do today.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you moved out.
Yes.
Where did you go when you moved out?
I moved to Church Street, a couple blocks away from her.
Is that right?
Yes, she did move out.
Fine. Now, the time she moved out, what did you do with the utility bills?
I asked Amanda to, I didn't even ask Amanda to put them in my name, in her name for me. I didn't even know about it. My sister did.
How did you think you were getting water? You said to me, I didn't even know she put the bills in her name, but you knew you had water.
I didn't ask her to put them in her name for me. I never asked Amanda to do that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Amanda Brennan says she co-signed on utility bills for her aunt, Elizabeth Brennan. Amanda claims Elizabeth owes over $1,700.
How many months' worth of bills do you have there?
I have
from February of 01 until when? February
the PG and Energy here from when I called it was April 8th of 2002.
Judge, I moved out of Hillside Ave because of the gas bill being too high.
Did you ever pay the gas bill?
Did I? No, Amanda.
Did you ever pay the gas bill?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever pay a cable bill?
No.
Did you watch cable?
I wasn't there all the time to watch it.
Give me a break. Will you please just answer my question? When you turned on the television, I didn't ask you whether you sat there with your eyeballs glued to the television for 24 hours a day. You flipped on the television and you watched it, so you had cable, right?
Yes.
And you had water. And you had energy. Did you ever pay any of these bills?
No.
Why not?
Because we were disputing them, because Amanda called PUC to dispute them to see why they were so high. And I didn't...
Just a minute. Forget that one bill. Why didn't you pay the cable bill?
Because Amanda told me I didn't have to.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And it doesn't make sense. And what about the water bill? You were getting the water bills. What were you doing with the bills when you get them? Throwing in the garbage?
No, I was telling Amanda. Because Amanda was over my house every day. And Amanda
you were telling her what?
I didn't even tell Amanda I would pay the water bill or the gas bill. I didn't even know she was putting them in her name because I didn't ask her to do it. My sister
Can I see the bills, please?
I also have a check here that she sent to me after I filed for this to happen. She sent me a $25 check that she put on the bottom bills for Amanda, so she knew that she had.
Let me just see the bills,
yes,
please.
I don't agree though.
Let me
she
see the
lived
bills.
with me too.
She didn't live with you, Miss Brennan. She didn't live with you there.
That's the water.
She lived with you for 2 weeks. You just told me.
She lived with me, but she wouldn't stay at her own house. That's what I'm trying to get at.
So she'd come over to your house.
Exactly. So she stayed there, and she washed her laundry and everything in my house.
Bill.
She'd bring her clothes over.
I bought
so what? Just a
minute. Dryer.
Just a minute. So what?
And
so I don't feel I have to pay her for the whole bills.
How about any part of them?
I said I would pay for half.
Why didn't you pay for a year? Anything.
I didn't live there a year. I only lived there from February to November of 2001.
February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. You lived there 10 months.
Actually.
And you didn't pay for any utilities. And I'm asking you, why? Why did you not pay for any utilities? Let's say you say she came over and did her laundry, so why should you pay for all the bill? Some? Any? Now, did you pay your rent?
Yes, I did.
Every month?
Yes, I did.
So at the time you moved out, you were fully paid on your rent?
Yes.
Really?
That's because she was on Section 8, which Section 8 will pay most of your rent. All she had to pay was just a certain amount of the rent, because that's what I'm on now. That's why the rent was always paid.
Were the bills coming directly to your house?
Mm-hmm, because that's the way she had them. They were coming to my house.
Miss Brennan, let me tell you something. You're supposed to do the right thing. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,775. Thank you, that's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Poulter versus Miller. Step forward, please.
53-year-old truck driver Craig Poulter is suing his ex-girlfriend, 28-year-old purchasing agent Heidi Miller, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Heidi says Craig bought the car as a gift.
Mr. Poulter, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $3,000 some odd so that you could purchase a car.
Yes.
The defendant says it was never a loan, never intended to be a loan. What was your relationship to the defendant?
Well, Heidi and I had met in about June of 2000, and shortly thereafter started dating and ended up in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And during the course of that relationship, which lasted about a year and a half, Heidi had mentioned that the vehicle she was driving at the time was being too costly for her to afford. We discussed the situation and came up with an idea that at the right time, when the right car came along, to purchase a different vehicle, and then she would be able to get rid of the one that she really couldn't afford owning.
Was it a leased car that you had?
Yes.
It's a lease?
Yes.
And how much was the lease?
$369 a month.
So does that sound right so far?
Yep, pretty much.
Okay, go ahead.
So it was the 25th of June 2001, and we spotted a nice-looking used car for sale by private owner. We decided to stop and take a look at this vehicle, knowing that she would sooner than later be getting rid of the Blazer. When we came back from the test ride, I told her that if we can make the right deal with the gentleman for the right amount of money, I think it would be a good car for her to have.
Okay.
And at that time, I said, as far as paying me back for the car, we can work that out later. Let's first take care of what's important, is to get you a car.
Are you telling me that you had a discussion with her at that point about paying you back the money?
There was some short discussion about it. It wasn't a real long conversation.
I mean, it might sound right. It sounds right to me that you might say, listen, if we can make a good deal on this car, let's do it. But it doesn't sit right with me that you would say at that moment, and then we'll talk about paying me back, later. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay.
But there was some mention of that getting a payment plan set up down the road or something, but I don't remember exactly
at that
what it was.
moment. I'm talking about at that moment.
Yes.
All right. I'm not sure if I believe that. Go ahead. So what happened? So you went and you made a deal with the man?
Yes.
You did alone?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wrote a personal check for the car, and I have a copy and
I'd like to see it.
of that signed cash check.
Okay.
Um,
And then she took possession of the car. You registered it in your name?
Yes.
And when did you turn back the leased car?
It was shortly after that, because I had to, I took a loss on this Blazer that I had, and so what I had to do is I had to finance $5,000 for the loss on a Blazer that I no longer have, and actually I'm still paying for it. So once I sold that, which was actually probably about a month or two after he had bought the car for me.
Okay.
So
now, when did you and the defendant end your relationship?
It was towards the end of 2001.
Between June, when you purchased the car, and December, did she make any payments to you?
No.
Did you have any discussions about it?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. As a matter of fact, I have two separate emails from two separate days where I had mentioned to her by email about wanting repayment, and her replies are on my emails. Your Honor, my comments are highlighted in blue and hers are in yellow.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Craig Poulter says ex-girlfriend Heidi Miller owes for a loan to buy a car. Heidi says Craig has been harassing her.
Would you show this to the defendant, please?
Okay.
Ms. Miller, those emails, especially yours, don't seem consistent with your defense, which is that this car was a gift.
The reason, if I said those things, I don't remember. It was such a long time ago.
It's not so long ago in the scheme of things.
But I said this basically said those emails to appease this man. He's very controlling of me. I had to get a restraining order against him after all this whole thing. It was just to get him to back off.
Just a second. These were in September. You didn't break up with him until later on in the year.
Actually, we broke up in September. It was such an on and off relationship.
Well, then it was back on again.
No, it was not.
Well, you want to go on and continue then and tell me about these emails that you sent, which seem to indicate that he was telling you, don't worry about getting a part-time job to start to pay me back. Because you said, I'll get a part-time job and pay you back. He said the most important thing is that you get a good full-time job,
which
and then you can start paying me back. And you say, I'm really stubborn. I know I want to pay you back, and I'm going to pay you back. You say that on 2 separate occasions.
Just to appease him, because he was harassing me with phone calls and with different emails that I don't keep every single email that is sent to me. I'm sorry that I don't. But if I could, I have the emails when I had gotten the order of protection, and
let's get to the money.
I don't owe him for it. It was a gift. At the time of when we purchased the car, we never talked about anything about that I was going to repay him or anything. He went and took for a test drive. I had nothing to do with the car.
Okay.
He came back to me and said, this is a good car for you.
Okay.
Your Honor, I also have an audio tape recording that I made of a conversation between Ms. Miller and I. We have queued up one of the most important parts of the tape.
I'll hear it.
Thank you.
Yeah? What are we going to do, Heidi? I don't know. I can't believe in all this time you haven't been able to send any money at all. Exactly, me either. Things are tight. Okay, plain and simple, Heidi. What is the next step? I don't know.
I asked her point blank on the conversation, and it's in this tape. I said, Heidi, are you trying to say that you don't owe me the money for the car? And she very frankly answers, no, I know I owe you.
No, it's clear to me, sir,
Okay.
that she owes you for the car.
It was just miscued.
It's clear to me that she owes you for the
Thank
car.
you.
She acknowledges on the tape she owes you for the
And
car.
I
She
also
acknowledges
have-
in the email she owes you for the car.
Right, and I have my
Only
daughter
today
as a
she
witness.
says she doesn't owe you for the car.
That's
Only today. Now, if you had $369 of car payments for a Blazer that you couldn't afford, and if you gave him $100 a month, which would cut your expenses substantially, then you could pay the car off in 30 months and you wouldn't have a problem. Or if you gave him $50 a month, but you gave him nothing.
Well, I had to pay for that Blazer loan, that $5,000 loss.
Whose fault is that? Is that his fault?
Yes, because he told me that was the best thing for me to do was to get rid of that Blazer.
Hey, listen.
That's what he told me to do.
You look like a very strong, strapping girl, and there is absolutely no reason why you let somebody else make decisions for you. Sounds to me as if you made your own decision to lease a Blazer. You could have leased a car that you could buy or lease for $150 a month. You decided to lease a big one.
I was married when I rented that lease.
Who cares? That's not his fault either. In any event, he was trying to be helpful. He expected repayment. You broke up with him. I don't know why. I'm not interested. You owe him $3,075. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 37 on the calendar in the matter of Burroughs versus Britt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Burroughs, it is your claim that you loaned the defendant. You're not a party to this. Could you have a seat, please? That you loaned the defendant $3,000 for the purpose of purchasing a car, and that he has not repaid that loan. The defendant says that he did, in fact, repay the loan by working for you in your fishing business. That's your defense.
Yes.
Put your hands down. How did you know him?
I met him through a friend of my deceased son's.
How did that come about?
It just happened through because of my deceased son's friends, were coming over to support us over because of this tragedy of his death.
When was that, sir?
Be a year, June 12th. Be a year.
And tell me how this car loan came about.
I've been helping out some of the kids, that had been having hard times and so forth, financially and getting them jobs and stuff like that there because, I felt like I wasn't doing enough for my own son when he was here. And so I was kind of reaching out to him. A lot of the kids were showing up, and we all became real close.
Did you ever give any of these other friends money?
Yeah, money, and I got them jobs and everything, and they all pretty well paid back, and they're doing good.
All right, now tell me how this loan for a car came about with Mr. Britt.
He needed wheels to get a job, to get back and forth to work if he was going to get a job.
Is that what he told you?
Well, he said wheels would help.
Well, then what kind of conversation did you have with Mr. Britt about the car?
Well, it was $3,000, and he said he would pay back $200 a week. I told him I thought that was a little steep and kind of hard, with him having 2 kids and everything and staying with his parents. And I said, well, you can just pay me maybe a smaller amount. But he said he could pay $200 a week, no problem.
Okay, so you wrote out the check for $3,000 for the car.
No, I gave cash to the guy who had the car, with Cameron and his mom standing there.
And the only reason that the defendant's mother is here is because I gather from your papers there was an arrangement that the car would be titled in her name.
Right.
Why was the car going to be titled in her name?
Because Cameron is on parole or probation, whatever, so he has to stay at her house. She was able to keep up with him better than I was. If the title was in her name, she would hopefully do the right thing if he didn't come up with the money, but weekly like he was supposed to do.
Now, did he pay you in cash any of this $3,000 back?
Yes.
How much?
He paid me $150 2 times.
When?
The first date he doesn't know. He didn't write a date beside it, but the second time was on February 11th.
And what happened after February?
We went on a fishing excursion for the weekend.
Are you a commercial fisherman?
Yes, I commercial fish, and I also work as an operator at a coal terminal.
When he went with you fishing, was that on your business?
See, it can be either business or pleasure, because sometimes the fishing's not good, and sometimes you catch enough to eat, and sometimes you catch more than enough to eat, and then you can sell some of the fish and make money. But it was a weekend away from everything, I guess, is what you would call it.
Okay, but after February 11th, he didn't give you any money.
No.
Okay, Mr. Britton, now I'll hear from you, sir.
How are you doing?
Excuse me?
I said, how are you doing this morning?
That's not relevant
Okay.
to this case.
All right. Well, our agreement was that if I fished with him 4 weeks for 3 days a week, that my car would be paid for, which that didn't happen. I fished the first week, he bought the car.
Okay, your agreement was if you fished with him for 4 weeks,
Right.
3 days a week,
Right.
then the car would be paid for,
Exactly.
and in effect, you would be making $750 a week.
I should have been earning more than
No,
that.
no, but that would mean,
Right.
based upon your statement,
Right.
working 3 days a week,
Right.
3 days a week, that you would be earning $750 a week,
Right.
or $250 per day.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you say that was your agreement.
Right.
Did you fish with him for the 4 weeks?
The first week I fished, we come back. He bought me the car. We was leaving to go fishing that next Wednesday. That same Wednesday morning, he gave me the $3,000. We went to the place. I bought the car from who I bought the car from. So I fished that second week with him, 3 days. We come back. The next week we go down Wednesday. I was stuck till Sunday, which equals 6 days. So I figured that 3 days a week for 4 weeks, if I fished 6 days the last week, I was through.
So you're telling me that you fished every day, and every day you fished, you made money?
Oh, he got a $1.75 a pound of fish, and we was bringing fish in that was 25 pounds a piece, and he would bring 80 of them in. You can average his money up. And I didn't get none. I didn't see none of the money. I was supposed to get a quarter. I'm a boatmate. I didn't get a quarter.
How many people were on the boat?
Me and him.
Just the 2 of you?
And he didn't do nothing but drive. I caught everything.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Harry and Beth Burrows say their deceased son's friend, Cameron Britt, owes for a car loan. Cameron says he paid them back by working on their boat.
Mr. Burrows, on the days that Mr. Britt went fishing with you, did you do it for commercial purposes, sir?
On some of the occasions, yes, and some of the occasions, not.
When you had your best day, commercial fishing, how much did you make?
The best day, around $1,200.
How many days did Mr. Britt fish with you when he was not paid?
We probably fished together 7 or 8 times, and there was never agreement on paying him anything. You know, anything I was to give him was out of my pocket, out of the kindness of my heart.
No, I don't believe that's true.
You know,
Mr. Burrows, listen to me. I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that that was his understanding. Why would anybody who needed money go out to work with you and not expect any kind of compensation?
He didn't have a job. He wasn't doing anything else.
Can I
Well,
say
where did he get the money to give you the $300?
probably Social Security that he gets for his 3 children because their mother is dead. I would assume he gets Social Security. I don't know.
He
for
wouldn't
them.
get them unless he had the children with him.
He does. The mother is dead.
I raise my kids, but she gets all that money. I don't get none of it.
Okay, but he gave. Now you gave him, Mr. Britt, according to Mr. Burrows, $300 in cash.
I've given him no money.
No, I don't believe that. Listen to me. I do not believe that you didn't give him $300 in cash, sir.
I ain't signed nothing.
I don't care what you said you didn't sign, Mr. Britt. The plaintiff would not say you gave him money if you didn't give him money. That would be stupid of him to say.
I didn't give him no money.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You know what your problem is? Your problem is you're trying to make a case that this was for barter, and you feel as if you gave him any money that would take away from your case, but that's not necessarily true. What is true is, since if I don't believe you about something that you say to me, I tend to disbelieve other things too.
Right.
So there would be
Honestly, I
no
didn't give him no
reason
money.
for him to lie and say you gave him some money.
The reason to lie, I don't know either. But I gave him no cash. None at all.
Really?
I wasn't working. You just heard the man. I got the car out of work and I had no money. I lost my job for fishing with him. I was working at Superior Structures, and because I fished with him, I lost my job.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
That during the fishing part of the time, we were friends, but the car come to me for working. I never had a deal to pay him no money.
Mm-hmm.
Where the money come up is the last week when he didn't have nobody to go fishing and make him another $15,000. He got mad. He threatened to burn my car. My car was keyed up. Somebody punched the hood. I bought the car because I liked it, and I got the bill of sale where I had to go sell my car and buy me a $300 car, and him himself has called my cell phone. I should have bought it with me. Threatened to burn my car.
He's angry.
Well, I understand he's angry, but I paid
He's
for
angry.
the car.
All right, good. I'm ready to make a decision.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
He got violent and had to be thrown out of my house by a police officer. And throughout our relationship, he's hurt me.
Listen, you mean you're talking about throughout the 2.5 or 3 years you were living together?
Yeah.
Then you don't get paid for that. You end the relationship, you don't get paid for that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Harry and Beth Burrows say their deceased son's friend, Cameron Britt, owes for a car loan. Cameron says he paid them back by working on their boat.
Mr. and Mrs. Burrows, I think that you probably tried to do a nice thing for Mr. Britt by laying out this money for him to have a car. And I think that it is unreasonable to assume that Mr. Britt would invest days of his time without compensation in your commercial fishing venture where, according to you, you made probably $1,200 a day, sometimes more, sometimes less.
Sometimes nothing.
Lots of times
Sometimes nothing. But that's not his fault. That's not his fault. He's not your partner. So according to you, Mr. Burrows, he worked for you fishing about 7 times. And I am gauging 7 times at the rate of $250 a day. And from the $3,000, I am deducting $1,750, which leaves a balance of $1,250 that he owes you. Now, I would ordinarily deduct from that the $300 that you say he paid you, leaving $950, but Mr. Britt is insistent that he didn't give you any money.
I didn't.
So I'm entering a judgment in your favor in the amount of $1,250. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think they were crazy.
I tried to help out somebody in need.
Told me he was gonna burn my car.
He made an allegation of burning my boat.
He's trying to put me back in prison now. He's got all other kind of charges on me.
Sometimes the good guys just don't finish it first.
Lighting technician Daniel Gonzalez is suing his former friend, internet salesperson Victoria Delgado, for fraudulently opening a credit card in his name. Victoria says Daniel is suing out of spite because he wants to be more than friends.
Now, this is case number 277 on the calendar in the matter of Gonzalez versus Delgado. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Gonzalez, I gather from your complaint that you believe that Mrs. Delgado made a fool of you.
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition to making a fool of you, she fraudulently obtained a credit card in your name, charged almost $3,000 worth of merchandise on it, and you want that money back.
Correct.
She was your friend.
Yes.
And she called you one day and said she was going through an acrimonious divorce.
Correct.
And you agreed to help her.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know her?
We used to work together at one of our theme parks locally in Texas.
When you knew her, was she married?
Not at the time, no.
When did you get married?
I got married December 25th of this past year, on Christmas Day.
And when did you separate from your husband?
April 23rd.
And when did you call Mr. Gonzalez?
Well, take it back a few steps. On my wedding day.
Don't take it back a few steps unless I ask you.
Okay. But
you were separated from your husband on April 23rd of 2004.
For the second time, yes. Which Daniel had agreed a previous time to help me out as well.
Just a second. When did you separate from your husband for the first time?
January 17th.
Did you call Mr. Gonzalez at that time?
Yes, I most certainly did.
Why did you call Mr. Gonzalez?
Because the night of my wedding, my husband, for like a couple of hours, had made a comment to me that really upset me, and I had went to the restroom and I was crying. And at that time, Daniel was like, "It's not too late to step out now."
This is Daniel?
Yes.
Daniel said to you,
"It's not too late to back out now." So he offered to help me at that time. So
how did he offer to help?
He offered to get me away at my wedding.
And you said, "No, I'm in love and I want to stay
I was
together."
in love with my husband.
Well,
and I wanted to be
so
with my
January
husband.
17th, you separated from the first time from your husband.
Yes.
Why did you call Mr. Gonzalez?
Because he was a friend and he was always there to help me.
Good. What did you say to him?
Well, my mother was very sick, so I flew to Florida and I was helping her because I have a brother.
What did you ask him for?
He was helping me find an apartment.
So he was just talking to you?
Talking to me and finding apartments while I was in Florida.
So you asked him to look for an apartment for you?
Yes, and a vehicle.
And a car?
Mm-hmm.
And did he find an apartment for you?
Over the course of my staying in Florida, me and my husband, we decided that, what we were going through was silly, and we ended up back together again.
So you called Mr. Gonzalez and said to him, "Put the skids on the car, put the skids on the apartment, I don't need it."
Exactly.
And then you separated from your husband again in April.
Yes.
A couple of months later.
Yes.
And again you called Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, I did.
For help.
For help.
And I assume that you recognized that Mr. Gonzalez was helping you because his interest in you was more than platonic, that he cared for you. Is not an answer.
It probably, yes. I do think that his intentions were more than platonic.
Right. And what about your intentions?
Mine were not.
Then why did you use him?
I didn't use him. He
Yes, of
offered
course you
help.
did.
And
Of course you did. Of course you used him. Hey, listen, Smiley. If you knew that his intentions, and he cared for you in a romantic way, and you did not have the same kind of feelings for him, then by calling him on the phone whenever you and your husband had an argument and asking him for assistance, you were using him. Got it?
Okay, got it.
So when you called him in April when you and your husband separated, what did you ask him for?
At the time, I needed a vehicle more than anything.
You needed a car?
Yes.
From this man who you knew cared for you, so you were going to use him for a car.
He offered.
Well, you mean he just picked up out of the blue? He said, let me see, what is it possibly that she could need? What does Karnak say that she needs?
We had went to lunch together, and I
How did
told
that
him,
come about?
He would come and pick me up on Mondays, and we would go to lunch because that was on his only free day, and we
Just
went
a
to
second.
lunch.
You mean while you were together between January and April, you went to lunch with him?
No, I never went to lunch with him.
After you separated?
Yes.
Well, how did he find out you were separated? Did you call him?
Yes, I did.
So you called him, and then you said to him, we can have lunch on Monday. Right?
No, he
And it was on one of these lunches that you told him that you needed a car.
Yes.
And he agreed to help you get a car?
Yes, he co-signed with me on a 2002 Nissan Xterra.
Isn't that nice of him? Your agreement was that you would pay for it, right?
I would make the payments on it, yes.
And you stopped making the payments on it?
I never even got the chance to make the first payment on the car.
He took the car back?
He took it back, yes.
Why did he take it back?
Because in the transition with me getting the car, I was supposed to get my student loan in, and I was going to give him money for a deposit, which the deposit originally was only supposed to be $500. But when he went to sign the paperwork, he went without me to sign it. He told him that I was going to give him $1,000, and because he got all the warranty and everything on it, they added another $288. So it came up to almost $1,300 that he needed down on it. But the decision between him and I was that I would make the full payments on it, and I told him at that time I didn't have the $1,300 to give him, that I would get it from my student loan.
So he canceled it?
He didn't cancel it. He kept the car, to my knowledge.
Is that right?
I took the car away from her because she didn't pay the down payment to the vehicle, nor did she pay the first down payment.
So you actually got the vehicle?
Yes, I took the vehicle away because she failed to...
Listen to me, Mr. Gonzalez. You got the vehicle?
Yes.
Did she ever drive it?
Yes, she did.
Did you ever drive it?
Yes, I had it for almost a month before he took it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. I thought you said he changed his mind. So he got the vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
And he gave it to you.
Yes, he did.
And she didn't make the down payment, and she didn't make the first payment.
That's correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Daniel Gonzalez says former friend Victoria Delgado owes for fraudulently opening a credit card in his name. Daniel says Victoria is a user and took advantage of his kindness.
Now let's get to the credit card. When for the first time did you know that she had obtained a credit card?
On the 13th
Of what?
Of May. May 13th.
And how did you find out that she had obtained a credit card?
She told me that she had got applied for a credit card under both our names. So then from there, she just started telling me all that she made a couple of purchases for her apartment that she was going to get. And I was like, well, I was thinking a couple of purchases, like maybe $50, $60, $100 maybe.
Actually, he got upset. He got upset.
I'm not talking to you yet. Go ahead.
She told me that she had received a phone call on the 12th stating that that the credit card company was requesting my information. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that? I didn't even know about the credit card. So that's when everything turned out that she...
Can I see the bills, please?
Sure. And at the same time, she gave me a letter that she wanted me to sign stating, that's the letter, that she wanted me to sign.
In a minute. In a minute.
Okay.
She gave me a letter that she wanted me to sign so she can fax information to the credit card company, stating that she was an authorized user. In a matter of 3 days, she was managed to charge $2,600 on a credit card.
Now I'll hear you, Ms. Delgado. $2,600 plus merchandise that you charged over the period of a few days on his account. How much did you pay on the $2,600?
On the $2,600, I was in the hospital.
I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you whether you were in the hospital, whether you were at Disney World, whether you were at T-Dance, whether you were on a world cruise. I asked you, how much of the $2,600 and change did you pay?
My husband gave him $90 to shut him up.
Your husband gave him $90 to shut him up, so that the answer is you paid him nothing.
$90.
No, the answer is you paid him nothing.
Okay.
Now, where is all this merchandise that you charged?
It's all household goods for my house. I bought a bedroom set. I bought dishes.
Now, just a second. Now, you separated from your husband on April 23rd.
Yes.
And when did you reconcile with your husband?
We started talking again in early June.
And when did you move back together?
June, I believe the 15th.
Where's the bedroom set?
I still have it.
Who sleeps in it?
Me and my husband.
You're some piece of work.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Oh, I do.
I mean, the whole circumstance surrounding us is
I think
different.
that you have a bad character. I think that you used Mr. Gonzalez's friendship You fraudulently obtained a credit card.
No, I didn't fraudulently
Oh,
do
sure
it.
you did.
No, I have a piece of paper here. If I was trying to fraudulently use his name and I didn't want it linked back to me, that's what he was claiming. I signed
you
it.
fraudulently
I signed
obtained a credit card because you yourself say in your answer that you made believe you were him.
That's because on the morning that they called, I called and I told him he was in the process of refinancing his house.
Listen to me. That's what you say in your answer.
Exactly, but you're not letting me get back to the...
When Visa called, I acted like I was him.
I did, because he told me to.
What date was that?
I believe it was on the 15th.
So on the 15th,
that morning,
two
it was
weeks
Sunday
before,
morning.
2 weeks before you decided to reconcile with your husband, you had just concluded charging over $2,600 worth of merchandise on a credit card that he's obligated to pay. That's what you're telling me, right? You are a person of poor character. You are a person who committed fraud, and you're a person who's going to repay him $2,700, which includes the interest. That's what he's suing for. Judgment for the plaintiff. Get rid of him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Daniel's intentions were way more than they were.
There was nothing in my mind that, even want anything from her, just a friendship.
He is a grown adult. If he wanted to buy those things and, or do that for me, then that was on his own.
Well, I didn't know it to be so much money until I called the credit card company and found out it was $2,600. And I was like, whoa, that's more than a bottle of wine,
The chances in love and war, he took his chances, he lost.
I was trying to help her out just for a vehicle, but not to furnish her whole apartment.
He lost, so now he's bitter.
All I wanted was just the money that she owed me for the purchase that she made.
26-year-old child care provider Laura Burton is suing her ex-husband, 29-year-old machinist Donald Allen, for the return of her son's belongings. Donald is countersuing for car payments and insurance costs.
It's case number 48 on the calendar in the matter of Burton versus Allen. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Miss Burton, when were you and Mr. Allen married?
We got married in April of 2001.
And at the time you were married, you had a child, a boy. Is that right?
I already had him, yes.
From a previous marriage or relationship?
Relationship, yes, ma'am.
And how old was that child when you married Mr. Allen?
9 months.
And where is the father of that child?
He lives in the state of California. At the time, he lived in the state of Utah with me.
Does he support the child? Does he support the child?
Right now, no.
Last year, did he support the child?
Yes.
The year before?
Yes.
And the year before?
Yes.
And how much support was he sending for the child?
He paid $167 a month.
So not much.
Not much.
Not enough to support the child.
No, ma'am.
When you married Mr. Allen, were you working?
Yes, ma'am.
Continually employed?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was watching the baby?
The biological father was watching him.
And that remained throughout your marriage to Mr. Allen, that the biological father was watching the baby
No,
while you were working?
at the point when me and Mr. Allen got married, I had put him in daycare.
And you continued to be employed?
There were points that I did become unemployed.
Large stretches of time?
No, maybe the longest stretch were 6 months.
And during that 6-month period, Mr. Allen supported the household?
Yes.
Supported you and your son?
Yes.
Okay. When were you married, Mr. Allen?
April 25th, 1998.
To her?
Yeah.
Why did she say April 2001?
I don't know. My son was born in 97, so.
You mean the baby?
Yeah, the baby.
Is that right?
Yes.
So that you made a mistake. You were married in 1998.
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you separate?
It was the end of August, September of 2002.
And when were you divorced?
October 4th, 2002.
Do you have any children together?
No.
So this is what this case is about. Miss Burton is suing you for the return and or value of property, the child's property, child's clothes, games, sporting equipment, etc., etc. That was at your house. Because even after the divorce, you were exercising visitation with him. You coached his ball league.
Up until problems happened. So.
Whatever it was. But you were involved with him, so you kept some things at your house. Did he sleep at your house occasionally during visitation?
He actually lived with us from March until July.
March of what year?
2003.
Why was that?
His mother was unable to find a place to live.
For that 4 months he lived with Mr.
That is
Allen?
incorrect, Your Honor.
How long did he live with Mr. Allen?
Until May.
So he lived with Mr. Allen for 2 months?
Yes, ma'am.
According to you. But since the separation, since you were living together, Mr. Allen has had regular contact with the boy. What's his name?
His name is Tyler.
And I would assume that Tyler is attached to Mr. Allen.
In a way.
Okay. And your lawsuit wants Mr. Allen to return all of these things. Mr. Allen says, I bought them, and they're staying in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I also gather from reading your complaint and his answer that you have decided it's no longer appropriate for Tyler to spend time with Mr. Allen.
It's become unhealthy.
It's become unhealthy because why?
The constant bickering between Mr. Allen and I had told him that it needed to stop. It was becoming unhealthy for everyone in the situation. I gave him a year that I continuously said, we cannot be bickering. We need to stop. Something needs to change.
Bickering about what?
Just little things, mainly my son. He was trying to run my household for me. And
who was this person?
This is my current husband, Brian.
When were you married?
We got married in November of 2003.
Tyler is 7 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
And what you're telling me, Miss Burton, is that you have decided to cut off the only constant male relationship in your son's life because you couldn't get along with Mr. Allen.
Not only that I couldn't get along with Mr. Allen, but my son is fearful of this man.
I'm not interested in whether you say your son is fearful. I don't believe it. I don't believe if your son is fearful of him, you let him stay there for 2 months while you were trying to find a new place to live. That's baloney. Don't believe it. Not for a second. Anyway, she stopped all contact. Is that right?
Yes, she did.
And you have this property that you purchased.
Yes. Can I explain something real quick?
Go ahead.
When we were divorced, we agreed to split his stuff for her home and our home. Everything she bought stayed at her house. Everything we bought stayed at our house. And after she got pregnant the first time, she claims that I was going to let her have the baby clothes or use the baby clothes that I got in the divorce that she said I could have.
What do you mean after she became pregnant the first time? What is that?
Well, the first time, because she had a miscarriage about a year ago.
That's with her present husband?
No.
With you?
No.
With who?
Boyfriend at the time, or...
Okay, go ahead.
And then she asked for the clothes when she became pregnant now. And I told her no. And I came to the point where I've done so much.
Mr. Allen, you don't have to explain it to me any further. Mrs. Burton, I don't know how to put this to you. You have one child, you're expecting another. You've got a new husband. Before this new husband, you had a boyfriend with whom you were intimate and got pregnant. I mean, so your life has been up and down, and before that, you had the father of your 7-year-old who you weren't married to. So the only constant that your son has known in 7 years has been this man. When you are a parent, you are not supposed to be a selfish baby.
Ma'am,
I'm speaking. Now, unfortunately, the law does not permit Mr. Allen, who is not related to this child by blood, to seek visitation with him in most jurisdictions. It doesn't mean that he can't sue for custody of this child, because anybody can sue for custody of a child if they believe that the biological parent has so abused or neglected that child as to make it dangerous, emotionally and or physically, for the child to live with that parent. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Which means in most jurisdictions he cannot file for visitation, but if you become a worse mother than I believe that you are, he can file for custody. It is the wrong thing to do to cut off for your son a relationship with this man, which is the only constant he has known for 7 years because of your moving around.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, as ex-husband Donald Allen owes for the return of her son's belongings. Donald claims Laura owes for car payments.
Now, not only aren't you getting the stuff back, but I'm telling you that you better watch your back, because should you do anything that places this child in either physical or emotional damage, he's going to be there.
Ma'am.
And while you may not consent to visitation because you got your nose out of whack, because I believe what he says when he says, she said to me, I'm going to lay down the rules. If you want to see him, I'm going to tell you what the rules are. That sounds like something you would say. And what you're doing is not considering the best interests of your child. And when you don't do that, you're not being a good parent. You're not getting the property back. He bought it for his stepson to stay at his house. Unfortunately, when the marriage was terminated, so was the relationship, the legal relationship of stepchild, step-parent. That you know.
I know.
That you know. And there were other things, Mr. Allen, that you could have done.
I know.
During the marriage, you could have discussed adopting him. That was a possibility. I don't know whether his biological father would have consented to that or not. The law doesn't keep up with the dynamics of our new world. And our new world is that sometimes children become very attached to their step-parents, and it's very unfair for the biological parent to use that as a sword. It's clear to me that there was a time when Mrs. Burton was very, very happy to have you fill in for her son to live with you for either 2 months or 4 months while you were in between residences. That was convenient. It no longer is convenient. I'm sorry. You don't get anything back. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's kind of upsetting. All my son wanted was his personal belongings that are there now.
So many things are put into this little boy's head, like his daddy's abandoned him.
He's the victim. I mean, I have to go home and disappoint him again.
We were best friends. There was no other way around it. Best friends with each other. We did everything together.
I'm thinking of the best interest of my child.
I love you no matter what happens or what anybody says. Your daddy loves you.
And now the next case. 25-year-old waitress Brenda Rhodes is suing her sister, homemaker Jessica Lullenberg, for the return of personal property. Jessica is countersuing for unpaid rent and for pawning her son's Xbox.
Yeah, this is case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Rhodes versus Lullenberg. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Miss Rose, the defendant is your sister, and according to your complaint, the two of you moved into an apartment together. Your sister put you out of the apartment, and according to you, she kept some of your property and disposed of your property, and you don't have it anymore, and you're suing her for, I think, $3,000 for the value of the property. Your sister says you left the property there. She doesn't have the property. She was forced to move out of the apartment when you left. She doesn't know what happened to it. Well, at least she doesn't have it. And she says that you actually owe her money. You owe her money because you didn't pay part of rent that you should have paid. And in addition, you stole her child's Xbox and pawned it for money. She wants money for that. Is this your mother?
Yes, it is.
When did you move in with your sister and why?
When? I'd say the first week in November.
Why?
To help her and her kids out.
Explain that to me.
She was working a night shift at a factory, and she asked me to watch her kids while she worked, and I said okay. That was the agreement. No rent, no nothing was involved. As long as I stayed there with her kids, that's fine.
Who moved in? You alone?
Well, with my two other girls. I have two girls.
So what you're telling me is you aren't supposed to pay any rent?
Exactly.
Why?
As long as I watched her kids while she worked.
Just a minute. Weren't you working?
No, not at the time. She said, you know, when you can, find a job.
That's interesting. So she worked at night?
Yes.
And you slept while she worked?
Watched her kids and my kids while she worked.
Well, what were her hours of working?
5 o'clock in the evening till 3:30 in the morning.
So I assume at some point you went to sleep?
Well, yeah.
You weren't watching the children 3:30 in the morning?
No.
And how old are her boys?
Ashton is 6 and Tyler is 4, I believe.
And your children?
Mackenzie is 5 and Alyssa is 3.
So they're about the same age?
Yes.
And when did you move out?
She kicked me out the night before Thanksgiving.
So you were there for less than a month. What happened?
We went to a local bar together with her boyfriend, and somehow it became of a fight. She came up to me, started calling me obnoxious names. She pushed me into a DJ, and she told me to get my crap out. Other words were said. And I had to give her the key. It was her key. She was on the lease. I wasn't. I gave her the key. I tried to go back that night. She wouldn't let me have my things. The next day, I was with my other sister, Rebecca. She took me over there. I tried to get my things. She wouldn't let me.
What things?
My girls' brand new beds. I went out and bought them.
Okay. Your daughter's beds?
Yes.
What else was there?
My girls' clothes.
What else?
Just little items, but I don't really care about them.
Okay. Your children's beds and their clothes?
Yes.
You took none of your children's clothes?
She wouldn't let me in. I couldn't.
Did you ever go back to get the children's clothes?
I tried. I called the police.
Oh, did you ever get them?
No.
And when did your sister, to the best of your knowledge, move out of the apartment? When did you move out of the apartment?
When did I? The 1st of December.
When you moved out of the apartment, where were the children's beds?
The children's beds, they came with me, ma'am. Yes.
The girls' beds?
We had a verbal agreement.
Just a second.
Okay.
So the girls' beds came with you?
Yes, they did.
And the girls' clothes?
The girls' clothes. I took them to my sister Rebecca's house, and my sister Brenda picked them up.
And the beds you took with you?
Yes.
Why did you take the beds with you?
Her boyfriend at the time, his brother TJ asked if he could use the Xbox of my boys.
I'm talking about the beds.
Why? Yes, I'm getting to that. I took those because she stole my kids' Xbox and pawned it off. Her husband Sean told me that she went to his house and told him that she got $150 out of it, and me and her had an agreement.
I don't even talk to Sean.
Miss Rhodes. Miss Rhodes.
Me and Brenda, we agreed. We had a verbal agreement that I could keep the beds for compensation of the Xbox. That was the agreement we had together.
I don't think so.
No, Miss Rhodes, I don't want you to speak now, okay?
All right.
Good. Miss Lullenberg, do you take any medication?
Do I? No. I'm pregnant. I don't take no medication. Never in my life.
I'm going to read you something.
Okay.
And this something is a sworn statement that you made to the court.
Okay.
And you say, I do not have my sister's daughter's beds or her clothes. All of her belongings were there when I left. And I know my landlord had no use for them either. In any case, my parents bought those beds for her for $200. I have sons, so I have no use for girls' clothing, and I have no idea how she came up with $3,000. So when you swore to this affidavit, you swore to the fact that when you left the apartment December 1st, the beds were there. Listen to me.
Okay.
Now you're telling me that you took the beds because you had an agreement with your sister that the beds were going to be yours. So what happens is, Miss Lullenberg, what you have to do is you have to tell the truth all the time so that you don't have to keep making up stories as you go. Do you understand?
Yes.
When somebody asks you to fill out an affidavit, and with the affidavit it says, I, Jessica Lullenberg, being duly sworn, deposes and says, and you say in this affidavit that you sign that I left the beds in the apartment when I moved out. That's what you said. You didn't say anything about taking them with you, about an agreement with the Xbox. You didn't say anything about it. You said I left them there when I moved out. The problem is you forgot. You forgot the story that you told.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Rhodes says her sister, Jessica Lullenberg, owes for the return of her children's beds and their clothes. Jessica claims Brenda pawned her son's Xbox.
Okay. How much did you pay for the beds?
$320 cash.
Show me. Great. Now, you want to tell me why she owes you for rent and the value of the Xbox. Go ahead. That's your counterclaim.
We made an agreement when she moved in that she would try to get a job. She lived approximately a month with me, 4 weeks. I was the only one.
No, she didn't live a month. She lived there less than 3 weeks.
Well,
it was about 2.5.
Shh. Miss Rhodes, do I look
sorry.
like I need any help from you?
No. It was approximately, about a month, ma'am.
No, it wasn't a month. It wasn't a month.
What I came up with was.
Well, is that the same thing that you came up with when you couldn't figure out what happened to the beds? She moved out Thanksgiving. That's still in the month of November.
Thanksgiving Day. The day of Thanksgiving, I told her to come get her belongings, that she's out of my house.
Right.
And that was at my parents' home.
Right. So she said she was going to try to get a job. And for the few weeks that she was there, she did not get a job. So?
And everything was in my name. My father loaned me the $700, and I paid the rent, and I paid $255 for the NIPSCO, and I paid for the water, which was $30, and I have all this right there.
She didn't get a job. You had no agreement. You just said to me, you told her, move in with me and try to get a job. She didn't get a job in the 2.5 weeks that she lived there.
She didn't pay any bills. She didn't try.
That wasn't your agreement. That wasn't your agreement, Miss Lullenberg. Your agreement was not that she was going to pay a certain amount of money every month, whether or not she had a job. Your agreement was that she was going to be there, according to you, that she was going to stay there with you and try to get a job, and once she got a job, you were going to work out a payment schedule.
Exactly.
She didn't get a job in the 2.5 weeks that she was there, so she doesn't owe you any money for bills. Now let's get to the Xbox.
I have a police report
Let me see it.
That I...
All right. Without resorting to any hearsay, madam, let us assume that your son had an Xbox and games, and your son no longer has it, the Xbox and games. What makes you think that your sister, what proof do you have?
What proof I have?
Proof do you have that your sister...
A statement from TJ...
I don't take statements, madam. Statements are hearsay.
Okay.
What proof do you have that your sister...
What proof? None.
Good.
I should have brought her husband.
Well, then you should have brought somebody who could testify with regard to the Xbox. Your counterclaim is dismissed. You owe your sister for the beds, which you finally acknowledge that you did in fact take, and are using $320, which is the cost of the beds.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They're my family, but that's it. That's as far as it goes.
She's evil.
I don't want nothing to do with them.
She owes me and her dad money. I got another daughter that owes us money. No.
Family never works out.
I have got some evil daughters.
We could go on and on and on all day of all the things they've done to me, and them being family. It's sad.
It ain't gonna change, but, you know, I'd like it to, but...
Never, ever, ever, ever. I don't ever want to see them again.
28-year-old craftsman Jamie Cadell and her mother, Margaret Jeannie Pels, are suing Jamie's ex-boyfriend, plumbing contractor John Kuhn, for the value of a stolen money order and for the return of personal property.
Yeah, this is case number 117 on the calendar in the matter of Pels, Cadell versus Kuhn. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
What's your first name?
Jamie.
And yours?
Margaret.
You're her mother?
Yes.
You're Miss Peltz?
Yes, I am.
Miss Peltz, you gave your daughter $500 in cash because there was an outstanding warrant for her, she thought, for back child support.
Correct.
She has children who are in the custody of who?
The biological father.
She can speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the biological father.
And how many children do you have?
5.
How old are you?
28.
Are all 5 children with the same father?
No, Your Honor.
Where are the 5 children?
When I got pregnant at 13, and I gave birth at 14, and I had 2 children by the age of 16.
Where are those 2 children?
One is with the adoptive father. My other child was murdered when adopted out.
At what age? 2? Okay. How many children are with their father?
3.
And you have a current child support order, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You fell behind in your child support?
Yes.
Your mother gave you $500 so you could turn yourself in, according to you, and get the warrant lifted. According to your complaint, Mr. Kuhn got possession of this money order and didn't give it back to you. So you want that $500, and you also claim he has your property, clothes, pictures, etc., that he refused to return to you when he kicked you out of the house. You want a total of $1,200 from the defendant. Mr. Kuhn says never took your $500. You have your $500. That you have a drug problem, that's probably what you used it for. And as far as your property is concerned, he boxed it all up, put it on the porch. He has no idea what happened to it.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kuhn, how old are you, sir?
48, I'm sorry.
So you're 20 years older than Jamie, is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
The 2 of you lived together for a period of time? Uncross your hands, sir.
On and off for 3 years.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she work?
No, ma'am.
Did she work during the 3 years you were together?
Not one day.
So you were taking care of her and supporting her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any of her children live with you at the time?
No, we fought tooth and nail to try to get some of these children back for her, but that was to no avail.
Oh. Tell me, Jamie, about this $500 money order.
My mother gave me $500.
Why?
And I turned it into...
Why?
Oh, I'm sorry. For my child support, there was a bench warrant that was issued, so I had, instead of paying $160, I had to pay $500 to get it dropped.
Why didn't you pay the child support?
I wasn't working at the time.
Why not?
I've had medical problems that have kept me from working.
What
and
kind of
also,
medical problems?
I had severe hemorrhaging that went on for months. Not only that, Mr. Kuhn was also very controlling in our relationship.
None of that's true, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's get back to the $500. Your mother gave you $500 in cash, right? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Actually, I had the $500 turned into a money order, which I have the receipt.
Good. I'll take a look at that. So she gave you the $500 in cash. You got a money order. Who told you to get the money order?
I wanted to because I wanted to make sure it went to the child support. I didn't trust Mr. Kuhn because of his drug problem.
Just a second. No, Mr. Kuhn.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay. And go ahead.
We did go to turn myself in, and they said that they couldn't find any warrants on me, that I would have to go over to city. It wasn't a matter that I could take care of at that point. It was a Friday, so I wanted to contact my attorney the following Monday to find out what I needed to do to resolve the matter. I ended up going out of town with Mr. Kuhn to Fredonia. He had some work out there to do, and the $500 money order went with us both.
Yes.
Upon coming home from Fredonia...
Which was when?
The Friday following.
So you were there for a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Go ahead.
When we had returned home, actually it was Mother's Day. I had ran some errands and came home with dinner, and since I wouldn't make his dinner plate, he proceeded to tear up the house and throw objects at me.
Not true, Your Honor.
I'm going to get to you, sir. Uncross your hands. Go ahead.
Upon that, I called my mother to come pick me up because I was afraid for my safety. I left all my belongings. I left with the clothes on my back and no shoes or nothing.
And?
From there, we contacted an officer the next day to follow me over so I can try to get my things. Mr. Kuhn had changed the locks. My house key no longer worked. We do know he was home. He would not answer the door.
I'm still not hearing about the $500 money order.
Mr. Kuhn was in possession of it. He told me he would not let me have it, that he didn't trust me, that he would return it to my mother.
When did he tell that to you?
We had a huge fight in Fredonia, and I asked for it back.
What was the fight about in Fredonia?
I do not recall what the fight was about.
Do you recall?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Want to tell me about it?
The fight in Fredonia was about the fact that she wanted to cash the money order and spend it to buy pills from a friend.
What kind of pills?
Lortabs in specific.
What are they for?
They are painkiller. They're Lortabs, Oxycontins. This has been a prevalent problem throughout the entire relationship.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Elle says ex-boyfriend John Kuhn stole her money order and won't return her belongings. John says Jamie used the money order to buy drugs.
Okay. You have a drug problem, Jamie?
In the past, I did, yes, Your Honor.
Well, in the past, I mean, you're talking about yesterday, a month ago, 6 months ago?
I've been clean for a month and a half, Your Honor.
Prior to the month and a half, you've had a drug problem. What kind of drugs?
Lortabs and meth, which John actually introduced me into.
But you've been with him for 3 years, according to him. Is that right, off and on?
About that, yes.
But you lost your children way before that. You lost your children as a result.
When I was very young.
You weren't very young. You were 25. According to you, you're 28 years old.
No.
Listen to me carefully. I'm talking about the 3 children that are with their biological father at this point.
Okay.
You visit with them? Is not an answer. Do you visit with them? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
When?
Right now it's been suspended. I'm
Has it been suspended because of your drug use?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, I was a family court judge, madam. They don't preclude a parent, especially a mother in family court, from seeing her children unless there's a serious problem. So in Fredonia, when you were there with Mr. Kuhn, you had a fight. You said you don't remember what it was about. Mr. Kuhn says that you wanted to buy pills from a friend of his. So if you don't remember what the fight was about, I have to assume that he's telling me the truth.
Your Honor, he needed $50 because he had not gotten paid on his jobs. I told him he could use $50 out of the money order for food for us. He promised to pay me that back when he got paid on this job. It was not for drugs.
Ms. Kuhn, you were not working over the 3-year period, so I assume you were being supported, the two of you, since you were living together somehow. Were you being supported because Mr. Kuhn was working?
Working, but he was also very controlling.
I don't care about controlling. He was working.
Off and on, Your Honor.
And that's how you supported yourself.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
And my mother.
What happened to the $500, sir?
I honestly don't know. The last time I saw the money order was on a Thursday evening in my wallet, and by Friday it was gone.
Where were you with it? Were you in Fredonia at
We
the
were
time?
in Fredonia at that time.
Now, you drove back when, sir? On Sunday?
Late Friday evening.
You drove back together?
Yes.
Did you ask her about it?
Yes, I did.
What'd she say?
It was none of my business. It was her money. She could do with it what she wanted to. It's what she
What
told me.
happened on Sunday when you got home?
Saturday, she slept all day, which was something that I was accustomed to. Sunday, about 5 o'clock, she woke up. We had purchased Mother's Day cards for our respective parents, and my mother's in a home. She's disabled. And I told her, my mother's not going anywhere. Get off your butt. Go see your mother. Give her your card. Take care of some things. I gave her $25 and told her to bring home some supper, since I obviously wasn't going to get any other way. 4 hours later, she showed up and she was high. She had cold fried chicken, 7 pieces of cold fried chicken, and said that they had cheated her out of the mashed potatoes, corn, or whatever that was supposed to go with it. I had been working at the house. I live on 3 acres, and I had grass to cut. And I was hot and I was tired, and she told me to fix my own damn plate, threw the chicken on the table. At which time I told her she needed to call her mother, because I wasn't going to put up with it any longer. As far as her being in fear of her life, I don't know what that's about. She called her mother, and I told her mother over the phone she needed to come get her daughter, that I was through playing this game.
Did she come and get her?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
She came straight away.
Ms. Pels, either on Sunday or Monday, did you go to Mr. Kuhn's house to pick up your daughter?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And at what time? Don't speak.
It was roughly probably around 5:36 in the evening.
And when you got there, was your daughter inside the house or outside of the house?
She was outside the house.
Where was she outside of the house?
Across the street at a convenience store.
And she got into the car and you left?
Correct.
When was the next time you went back to or telephoned Mr. Kuhn?
The day after we wanted to go get Jamie, my daughter's belongings. When I picked her up, all she had was the clothes on and no shoes. She wanted her court papers and her clothing and her personal belongings, which are pictures of my grandchildren.
Okay, so she wanted her clothing and some photographs.
Yes.
And what happened when you got there?
He wouldn't answer the door.
Okay. Do you have her clothing, sir?
No, ma'am, I do not.
What did you do with it?
They called me repeatedly on Monday, made threats, so on and so forth. On Tuesday the 11th, I called them and I told them about 7:30 at night that I was leaving and I would not be home for an entire 24-hour period. That their clothes.
Who did
were
you
setting.
speak to?
I spoke twice to their answering machine, because they know my phone number and they never answer the phone when I call. That's just their way they do
you
things.
put her clothes outside.
2 bags of clothes, 3 boxes of court papers that were generated from my computer at my expense anyway, but they were her court papers. Nevertheless, she got them. There was a few pictures, an 8x10 and a little bitty photo album about this big, of snapshots. This person here happened to be there when I set the clothes out and made the first phone call.
Oh, really? Step up. Tell me your name.
Linda Gordon.
What were you doing in Mr. Kuhn's home?
I'd gotten off work at 6 o'clock that evening. My boss had asked me to please go talk to him about getting him to come down and do some work on our beach bathrooms.
How do you know him?
I used to be an employee of his years ago, and we then became friends.
Anything more than friends?
No, never.
Now, tell me about what you saw and heard.
When I'd gotten out there, I went out there, was going to speak with Jamie and John, because I had been visiting with them anyway, and see their new house. I hadn't been out there yet. And when I got there...
So you knew Miss Cadell as well?
Yes, ma'am. When I got there, John was in the middle of, packing some things up, and I had asked what was going on. He said she was leaving, and he would be more than happy to come in and give that bid, but he had to get this done first. I actually helped him pack some things, and it was approximately 7:30, 8 o'clock or so when he did call and say he had packed them, put them out back in a breezeway in a little alcove so they wouldn't be bothered by the weather, and I proceeded to go back into Wichita. He said he'd meet me there.
Is there a key that's required to get into the breezeway?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
And you heard him make that phone call?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the breezeway shielded from the street so that you don't see it from the street?
You cannot see anything from the street. It is a garage breezeway behind the house. There's no way it can be seen. Nobody knew the clothes were there except her and I.
Your Honor, I have a PFA against him because of the incident that took place.
Let me see.
This is the second PFA I've had to take out on him,
the
Your
first
Honor.
one she dismissed. I have evidence here that she dismissed the first one when I paid her child support again.
Your Honor, he's bounced a lot of checks.
What?
I'm sorry. He bounces a lot of checks. He wrote a hot check
Listen,
to her.
Madam, I don't know why somebody who's 48 years old, who is a responsible guy, who has a job, who has a business, takes up with somebody 20 years his junior who's a drug abuser. I don't know why somebody who's, rap type does that anyway. I think that there's something wrong with him. I don't want you to get me wrong. I think that anybody who does that is looking to control somebody else because that's the symbiotic relationship that you enjoy. You're a drug abuser, unemployed, got 5 kids. I'm speaking. He pays your child support. He takes care of your bills, and he has the ability to say to you, prepare a plate of food for me. Listen to me. That's the dynamics. If you don't want to be controlled by somebody, whether it's this man or your mother or any of the other fathers of your children, what you do is you get your behind out of bed and you go and get a job and support yourself and pay rent and pay food and make a car payment and pay insurance and take care of yourself. I have no sympathy for you. And I have no idea where your $500 is. I have no confidence that he didn't spend it, but I have equally no confidence that she didn't take it out and buy pills. You hearing me?
Yes.
Good.
I have a tracer on that. We're
Good.
having it
So, show just a second. If you have a tracer on it, do you have proof? Okay. If you have a tracer, do you have proof that he cashed this money order?
No, I've been waiting for it in the mail. No,
Listen, I don't care what's in the mail. Listen to me very carefully, madam. If you have a tracer and if you're able to show me that he cashed the money order.
It's on that paper.
On which paper?
The very first one that he given you.
Yes. Show me where it says that he cashed it.
No, back behind there is a tracer on the money order, and I'm waiting for the name.
Well, what does that do for me? What does that do for me? I'm the fact finder. The tracer could say she cashed it. The tracer could say he cashed it. Put your hand down. The tracer could say the drug dealer cashed it. It's a money order. It's a blank money order. Do you understand?
I understand that.
Okay, so I have no confidence that your daughter didn't take that money order, just like a person who's involved with drugs steals. Do you understand?
I understand, but he has a drug problem.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me, madam.
I'm listening.
Mr. Kuhn.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. That's just hilarious.
Go, Nick. You're irritating me. I mean, as much as she is, you're irritating me.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, I don't know where your $500 is, madam. I don't know whether your daughter took it or Mr. Kuhn took it. It is just as likely that she took it and spent it on pills as he took it and did something else with it. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very good. Put your hand down. As far as her property is concerned, I believe this witness that he packed up the property and put it in the breezeway. I believe that he did that. And I don't know who came and got it. I don't know whether she came and got it or you came and got it and you think you're going to put one over on me. I guarantee you're not. Now, you have a counterclaim, sir.
Yes, I do,
Your
Your Honor.
counterclaim is that you voluntarily paid her child support payments. $1,200.
That's right.
That's real nice of you. So why are you bothering me with it now?
Because I was promised that I would be paid back this money, and I can document the fact that I have paid. I have received.
Oh, I believe that you paid, sir. I believe that what you were doing is you were supporting Jamie.
I was keeping her out of jail. She went to jail 5 times.
Listen to me, Mr. Kuhn. All you have to do is say, I'm leaving. Do you understand? Or you're leaving. Do you understand?
I did.
That's all you have to do, which is what you did. But then you can't come to court and sue for money. You paid her child support because you were living together and enjoying her companionship, whatever that was. You don't come to court and sue for it now. Do I make myself clear? You knew she wasn't working. You knew she had no capacity to pay you back.
She was supposed to get a job.
Well, she didn't, and she didn't in 3 years.
That's correct.
Right. Good. So your counterclaim's dismissed. It was not a loan. And I have no clue what happened to the $500, so her claim is dismissed. That's all.
I'm sorry that she's so upset. I really did care about her.
Mr. Kuhn actually got me addicted to drugs. I'd never even tried drugs in my life until he came into my life.
There was just nothing I could do to help her.
He used it to get me addicted. I feel, to keep a hold of a younger woman.
I would make my own dinner and clean my own house and wash my own clothes.
I just knew that he's a compulsive liar, and what comes around goes around it. God will get him back.
It's typical display for her.
Being with him was just very depressing, and I got addicted to the drugs.
I was praying that things would get better.
I would like to tell anybody else out there, stay away from it. It's bad.
Yes, case number 246 on the calendar in the matter of Potters versus Wells. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Potter, the defendant is your former husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And your claim is for two things. First, you claim that he filed a report to Child Protective Services causing you some stress.
Yes, ma'am.
The second has to do with an income tax bill that emanated from the time that you and the defendant were married, that you're paying.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wells says that he was concerned about his daughter. You have a daughter together.
Yes, we do.
And he doesn't deny that he called Child Protective Services.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And that he pays child support, so the tax bill is yours.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So let's deal with those two things. Ms. Potter, when were you married and when were you divorced?
We were married May of 1996, separated in December of 99, legally divorced January of 2001.
And when was your daughter born?
She was born August 19th, 1997.
And you have visitation with your daughter?
Yes, ma'am, on the weekends.
And you pay child support?
Yes, I do, diligently.
Now, Mr. Wells, when did you call in a report to Child Protective Services and why, sir?
It was about a month ago. I noticed a change in my child's demeanor, calling me during the night, crying, saying that she did not want to be there anymore, that it was a bad place to live, they were being mean to her, which I've heard before. Taking that she's 7, probably some discipline going on over there, so you try to take that in, to occurrence. But after a week of this, and even in the mornings, I heard her and her mother arguing, and the child terribly upset before she went to school. So then that following weekend, she tells me that this gentleman over here had beat her with a belt. That,
who is this?
This is my boyfriend.
All right. Which really concerned me. Did a flip on that one, that he had took some pictures of her in her room. So I called Child Services and I spoke with the lady, and I haven't caused them any grief in the time they've been together, haven't interfered in their lives. And so after explaining this to the Child Services, they felt like that I should file a complaint with them. And that, needless to say, leaving the child alone at the bus stop, getting off at the bus, wandering around the neighborhood for a half an hour unsupervised, sitting on the front porch waiting in the afternoon for 15 to 20 minutes at a time without no supervision. All of these concerns came out in that.
Okay. But primarily you called because of the photographs that your daughter told you were taken
Absolutely.
of her and the fact that she said that this gentleman disciplined her with a belt.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. What's your name?
It's Rob Brialt, ma'am.
Step up. Last name?
Brialt.
How long have you and Miss Potter been together, Mr. Brialt?
About 1.5 years now.
And you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do. 3 of them.
And where do they live?
They live with their mom in Colorado.
And where do you and Miss Potter live?
In Cary, North Carolina.
Did you ever discipline Miss Potter's daughter?
Just once, ma'am.
And tell me about that incident.
My children were visiting me for approximately about 5 weeks, and all the girls were up in one room sleeping, or supposedly sleeping, and they're right above the TV room, where we're watching TV, and you can hear them talk and all that, and yell up there a couple times, go to sleep, girls, it's getting late, go to sleep. Since the 2 of mine were obviously up there, and they're acting up, I went up there with the belt, and, spanked them, slapped, gave them a hit on the rear end, to the 2 of my girls, and it would be only fair to the other 2 to not play favorites with Tatum. So she got it as well. And then they all quieted down and they all went to sleep.
Might I add, it was a swat. She didn't even cry. It wasn't a spanking.
Miss Potter.
Okay, sorry.
That's really not an issue that's before me. Okay. What's before me is your claim that he called Child Protective Services without a basis. So that's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay.
Then there's an issue of photographing your daughter. Mm-hmm. Now tell me about that. Have you photographed your daughter in her room?
What led up to that? Tatum was supposed to be upstairs cleaning her room. I yelled up, "Tatum, are you cleaning your room?" "Yes, Mommy." So Rob's like, "Well, we'll see." He took this phone, a camera phone, most of them have it. He peeked around the stairs, snapped her sitting on the floor playing when she's supposed to be cleaning her room, came downstairs, downloaded on the computer, showed me, "Tatum, come down here right now." She came down. I'm all, "Remember, Mommy always says she has eyes in the back of her head. I can see everything you're doing. What's this?" She looks at it. I'm like, "You weren't cleaning your room." She's like I'm busted.
Nothing terribly wrong with taking a picture and saying, "Listen, the picture, this speaks 1,000 words. You weren't cleaning your room." But as it's relayed to her father, that doesn't sound good. Do you understand?
You're absolutely right. Tatum came home one weekend from his house, said, "Dad's going to call Child Services or something on you." I'm like, "What?"
And she's all, yeah, and she told me why. So I get on the phone. I'm like, what are you going to do? Tatum's telling me you're going to do this. And he's like, yeah, I have a concern, my daughter. I'm like, that's a very good concern. This is what happened.
Ms. Potter, let me dispose of the first part of your claim. And I want you also
Yes, ma'am.
to listen carefully, Mr. Wells. Is this your only child?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Or, I beg your pardon, I do have an older son in California.
How old?
13 years old.
Little girls sometimes are manipulative.
Absolutely.
And let me dispose of Mr. Briault first so that he can sit down. Never discipline her child with an implement. Shouldn't discipline her child anything other than with words anyway. But you have no right to discipline her child with a belt. Period. End of discussion. You're not even her stepfather. You have no relationship to this child at all. And the fact that you wanted to be fair because you were disciplining your children, and so you wanted to be fair and your children shouldn't be angry with you, so you disciplined our child, that's ridiculous. Because there are other ways of telling the 3 little girls who were upstairs playing to be quiet because they were interfering with your television time other than taking a belt and going upstairs and hitting them. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. He hasn't assumed the legal responsibility in any way to your daughter. Even when he does, I wouldn't let him discipline my daughter corporally. But certainly not as long as he's just your boyfriend. What kind of commitment is that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Angela Potter says ex-husband Michael Wells maliciously filed false charges with Child Protective Services. Angela also says Michael owes for back taxes.
So when his daughter complained to him that she was hit with a belt, that was true. And as a non-custodial parent, because he has visitation, and he's concerned that A, some stranger in the house is hitting my child with a belt, and the mother isn't doing anything about it, and the same stranger is taking pictures of her in her bedroom, because that's the way it's presented.
Right.
He has a legitimate complaint. And I do not find that he maliciously called Child Protective Services because you've been separated since 1999. This is 5 years later. Is this the first time he's called Child Protective Services?
Yes, ma'am.
And he had a reason to do it.
But
and I don't care whether you explained it to him or not. You can't explain to him satisfactorily that this man took a belt to your daughter. There's no satisfactory explanation for that.
Okay.
Now let's get to number 2. Let's get to the tax returns. Can I see the tax bill that you got with regard to the taxes owed?
Well, here's the whole statement from 1998.
It's just a retaliation suit, ma'am, is all. She threatened, as soon as Child Protection Services was contacted her, she called up.
Mr. Wells.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me very carefully, my friend.
Yes, ma'am.
Was the first part of my judgment fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you think I'm a fair lady?
Yes, I do.
I don't care whether it's in retaliation or not. If she's been paying off your debt, I'm going to find out why.
Okay.
Well, this says, sir, at the time when you were still married and still together, there was a deficiency in your tax returns of almost $9,000. How much of it did you pay?
Haven't paid any of it.
Why?
Because all my tax returns goes to child support. Is mandated by the state. They take my tax returns and apply it towards state arrears in child support.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is that they take your tax refunds because you were a deadbeat father with regard to your child support, either for this child or another child.
During the arbitration of the separation, yes. I did go a period of time because Ms. Potter had...
You are a deadbeat with regard to either this child or your son.
I wouldn't call it a deadbeat.
Deadbeat doesn't pay child support as directed. That's a deadbeat.
Well, it wasn't paid until mandated by the court, ma'am, and then it has been paid every month since then for the last 5 years.
Well, arrears suggest, Mr. Wells, that the state has determined that you owed money for one child or two.
For 2 children, I paid.
For both children. So I'm going to ask you the next question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you start to pay her and say, listen, we have $9,000 that we owed. Clearly, half of that is mine because we were married and filed jointly. So what you're telling me is you decided that she's got to get stuck with this tax bill. Is that what you're telling me?
No, ma'am. I just thought that $9,000 was strong for one tax we filed together 1 year.
So?
And she hasn't, applied me with any documentation, has a contact.
Here, just a second. Here you go. I want him to have the documentation.
Absolutely.
Take a look.
$8,881.
That's what it says.
All right.
So, since you filed those taxes, since you were living together, were you working at that time, Mr. Wells?
Yes, ma'am. As a subcontractor at that point.
Very good. And what were you doing?
I was an executive assistant for a recruiting firm.
Okay. And so far you've paid about $7,100.
Yes, these
and
are...
there's, right, I see it. And there's still $2,030 owed.
Penalties and interest, pretty much.
Mr. Wells, the defense that you have to this, as I indicated before, because I've read it, your defense is, as far as our taxes, my wife filed our taxes and they are in her name. That's what you swore to. Internal Revenue Service says that you filed married filing jointly.
Absolutely.
So that is incorrect.
Yes, ma'am, it was. But that was the first time I'd seen that piece of paper right there.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you saw the piece of paper, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Wells, because you owe her $4,500. That's half the tax bill and penalties. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Oh, you are excused. You may step out. Ms. Potter tries to get every little bit of money out of me she can. She always has.
All he had to do is pay off the tax. He didn't want to do that, so look what it cost him in the end.
As far as me and Ms. Potter, we will not have any kind of relationship whatsoever.
You just can't reason with him.
Just as long as the well-being of my daughter's taken care of.
I do the best I can as a single mom.
Lab technician Lori Theodorov is suing her sister, 23-year-old homemaker Jennifer Rector, and her fiancé Sean Huff for an unpaid loan and for the return of her property. Jennifer and Sean are countersuing for money from the sale of Lori's house, bank fees, and for putting sugar in their gas tank.
All rise. Yes, case number 247 on the calendar, the matter of Theodorov versus Rector Huff. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mrs. Theodorov, according to your complaint, the defendant, who is your sister, and the co-defendant, who is her fiancé, owe you some money for several things. First, a loan that you made to them for security deposit when they moved into an apartment. Second, some money for some bills that you loaned them. And finally, for the return or value of some personal property. Personal property consists of some furniture that you claim to have loaned them. And second, a ring set that you say was an heirloom from your mother given to you that you merely loaned to the defendant. Your last name is Huff?
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
In order to propose to your sister, and you were supposed to get it back.
That's correct.
And the defendants say that the money that you did give them was for babysitting for your daughter, that the furniture was furniture that you were going to throw out because you bought new stuff. And as far as the rings are concerned, the rings, your sister said, belongs to your mother, who is still alive, and she returned the rings to your mother. That the case? And then you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim argues that because of some disagreement that you and your sister had, she has embarked upon a vendetta and put sugar in your gas tank and ruined your bank credit because she locked into your bank credit online and caused you to lose money, lose wages, whatever. Anyway, you have a counterclaim for harassment. You and your sister and her fiancé lived in a house that you owned for a period of time. Is that right?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was January of 2003.
And how long had you been living with your sister?
Just from January 2003 until
October of 2003.
Yes.
What happened with the house?
When they had first moved in, we had, made arrangements for rent. I asked for $100 out of each of their paychecks, which totaled $400 a month. I was lucky to get that.
You lost the house, according to what you wrote in the complaint. When?
In June, I'd said, okay, you guys, I will cover the mortgage payment. You guys cover the bills. The bills didn't get covered. In October, I was drowning in debt. I'd just been through a horrible divorce. I just said, I got to sell the house. I got to get out.
And how much money did you clear from the house?
$5,000.
And what did you do with the $5,000?
I paid the deposits on the apartment, rent.
Which deposits?
Both for my apartment and for their apartment.
Is that right?
I have a copy of that check.
Yes. And how much was the deposit on your apartment?
$500.
Why didn't you have your own $500 for security deposit?
Because we had been babysitting for her daughter for the entire year that we lived with her, almost a year. and she was supposed to pay us for that, and she never did. And she told us when she sold the house that she would pay our security deposit and give us $1,000 to pay our first month's rent and to get car insurance in order to clear the debt of watching her daughter.
And you say that never happened?
No.
Okay. How many rent checks do you have there for $400?
None of them are for $400.
We paid $100 out of each one of our paychecks.
Okay. How many $100 checks do you have to the plaintiff?
Approximately 10.
Now, may I see it, please? I have June 18th for $200. Well, so far, that's $1,150 that you have memorialized in rent, and you owe her $3,600 in rent.
Your Honor, during this time, we were a family. Cash kind of flowed back and forth. We never really thought that we would have to...
No. You cannot demonstrate to me that you don't owe her, at the time you moved out of the house, $2,450. Now, what about the other money that you gave them? Because according to your complaint, you gave them other money for bills.
I have another copy of some checks. And receipt. And these are bank statements with transfers documented on there from my account into their account. She would call me on my way home from work saying, Lori, the daycare check's going to bounce. Can you please put money in my account? And I always would. Because that's what your family's supposed to do for you. Is to help you when you need help.
Well, when are you supposed to stop doing that?
When they hurt you, like I've been hurt, I guess. I'll never do it again.
Okay, now let me hear about the furniture. Do you really want to proceed with this furniture? Did you loan them the furniture, or was it furniture that you were going to get rid of?
No, it was not going to get rid of. As a matter of fact, when I asked for the dresser and queen set back, I was going to use it for my roommate when I moved into another home. And she goes, oh, so you'll let your roommate use it, but not your sister. I paid for the freezer. Super Bowl Sunday, we were at Home Depot, and I paid for it.
We paid for half of the freezer, but I do not have proof of that because I gave her cash.
No, she didn't.
Where's the freezer?
It's still on our patio, and we told her she could come get it at any time.
Why is that on your patio? Is that where you kept it?
Yeah, it's a chest freezer. It's the only place it'll fit.
Oh, fine. She's coming to get it. Make sure it's in good shape. She's coming to get it. Now let's get to the ring set.
The ring set that she's claiming isn't hers, was never hers. It was loaned to her by her mother. I have a sworn statement from her mother with a doctor's note as to why she couldn't be here.
I'd like to see it. Okay, your mother who signed this notarized letter, I'll let you read it. Your mother says that she loaned you the rings when you became engaged and then married, and now she's loaned them to your sister, and she certainly expects to have them back.
Mm-hmm. They're in her possession now.
And they are in her possession now?
Yes, they are.
Okay, fine. So let's forget about the rings. Now, I want you to tell me about your counterclaim.
Okay. On July 3rd, my witness, Kelly Pruitt, saw Lori Theodoroff break into my bank account on her computer upstairs.
Okay. Step up. Tell me your name.
Kelly Pruitt.
Miss Pruitt, how do you know these two people?
I worked with Lori Theodoroff at Kaiser Hospital, and we became friends. And I was living with her for 2 months. And on July 3rd, the day before we were moving out, she had confronted me about putting a listening device in Jennifer's apartment.
You put a listening device?
Yes. And had overheard Jennifer and I talking about helping her ex-husband to try to get her daughter, Sarah, so he can have full custody because Lori is not a fit mother.
And so I assume you had an argument?
Yes, she had confronted me and was very upset with me.
And what did you say to her?
It's true. I mean, I couldn't deny it. I do not believe how she treats her daughter is to be a fit mother. It's just not right.
Go ahead.
And so she got on the computer, and there were still bank statements in the computer from when Jennifer and Sean would make payments online. And so she charged over $1,000 worth of money online so their rent check would bounce.
Did you say anything to her when you found that she broke into her sister's account?
I said, why are you doing this?
And what did she
answer? They could lose
answer?
their home. You're hurting Jennifer, not only Jennifer, but Sean and their son.
And what did she say?
She said, I wonder what else I can do. And then that's when she said, maybe I could put gas in her sugar tank, and laughed about it and said, I wonder what else I can find out to do to hurt them.
Do you recall going into your sister's bank?
No. I don't even know their password or their account number. Well, I know now because it's written on the check that I gave you. I don't know. And I really feel that Kelly's lying because I also have a suit against her for money that we moved into this duplex together. I fronted all of the money, $1,600. I was supposed to get the money from her on July 24th. I came home from work. She was moved out. And I'm sure that this is where these lies are coming from.
Okay. Do you have a police report with regard to the bank statement?
Yes.
Okay. Can I see it, please?
I also have the payment activity from that day from our bank.
And Kelly agreed to come on here.
When did you say she moved out?
July 24th.
Well,
may I
really,
something?
just a second. I really have to tell you, Miss Theodorov, that the dates here don't gel with your statement. Because according to you, she moved out the end of July, which is when there was confrontation. She was supposed to get you money, and it wasn't until the end of July you came home and found her gone. Right? And subsequently you sued her, which is why you say she's lying about this. Well, but the report date on this to the Sacramento Sheriff's Department is July 4th, which is well before that. So it is unlikely that since you didn't file a lawsuit against her July 4th, that this testimony today, which is consistent with her police report, was not in retaliation for your lawsuit against her. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I believe so, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Lori Theodorov says her sister Jennifer Rector and her fiancé Sean Huff owe for a loan and for the return of property.
What else? Give me the rest. The gas tank.
The gas tank, she had told, Kelly said, that she wanted to hurt me as badly as possible. And so the Tuesday after she moved into her duplex, my car broke down. Well, Lori had picked me up from the daycare where I was stranded and helped me get my car to a shop. Well, then all of this happened, and I found out about her breaking into my account, and I got very angry. And so because I was angry at her, she called the company, the shop where my car was, and told them not to fix it because I wouldn't be able to pay for it. And then I'd had the car back for 4 days, and I found sugar in my gas tank, and I took it straight to the police station and filed a police report.
I'd like to see the police report.
They picked a partial print, but they could not, it wasn't good enough to.
Right. Okay, so this is your statement. Nobody saw her put sugar in the tank. And I'm sure that you will tell me that you didn't do anything to their gas tank.
No, I did not.
Okay. All right, I have that you owe her $2,200, which is for the bills that she paid for you and the $500 deposit. Ms. Theodorov, I believe that you, as it happens, did exactly what Ms. Pruitt says with regard to the computer. I don't think that they have any proof that sufficient proof that you did anything to your sister's gas tank, but I certainly think that I am satisfied with her statement that you did, in fact, go into the computer and mess around with it. And how much did that cost you?
It ended up not costing us very much, only about $50.
Okay.
For canceling checks.
Okay. But as far as I'm concerned, there has to be some penalty for that. You understand me?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you can't do that vindictively. I mean, if you do that, you can go to jail for that. So, on your counterclaim for harassment, I am awarding you $500, which is 10 times the $50 that it cost you to reinstate your bank balance to what it should have been and to remove any penalties that have been placed on your account. You still owe your sister $1,700. Pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jennifer needs to learn that she can't mooch off people for the. I mean, that's all she's done her entire life is mooch.
I have seen her hit and pull her daughter's hair and call her stupid and fat.
This has put a black spot on my heart, and I don't know that if somebody came to me and asked for help, if I'd be able to do it.
What makes her such a good liar is she convinces herself that her lies are true well before she tells anyone else.
I mean, I love her. She's my sister, but I don't think I could help her anymore.
If I see her on the side of the road hitchhiking, I'm not going to pick her up because she'll just try to hurt me some more.
Everyone, এই যে আমার বন্ধু ভাত খাইতেছে, খাইতে পারতেছে না, কি হচ্ছে না? আর ওই যে অন্তর, ও তো পুরো কি বলবো, খাইতেই পারতেছে না, বলতেই পারতেছে না। আমাদের সাথে একটা আপু আছে, হ্যাঁ এখানে এসে পরিচিত হয়েছে একজন লোকে, ভালো লাগলো বিষয়টা। এটা কি বলতে রে? শুটকি, এটা আলু, ঠিক আছে। বেরো বেরো, একটু পরে বেরো, খারাপ 2 মিনিট হোক। তুই হাত ধুয়ে যাবি, যা হাত ধুতে যা। এভরিওয়ান, আমার বন্ধু যে হাত ধুতে আসছে এখানে, এটি নাও। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, এখানে কি লিখতে হবে? আবার নাড়ো নাম দিতে হচ্ছে তোমাকে। হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে। এই যে টিস্যু দিয়ে দিচ্ছি তোমাকে, টিস্যু দিয়ে দিচ্ছি। আর কি ব্লগ নাকি? এটা তো রি-আপলোডের লেগে ক্রিম ভিডিও। এই যে আপু কি করে? এখানে যাবো আমি। আচ্ছা, তুমি কি খাওয়া করছো তাহলে? রোজা রাখছিলাম তো, ইফতার করলাম। আচ্ছা, ইফতার করলাম। এখন কত বাজে এখন?